Chapter 4158. With hundreds of thousands of core members and 20 sea gods, he believed that Neptune would not hesitate to hand over the origin source. If he could really obtain the origin source, he would have the ability to compete with the dragon god. If that's the case, the white-eyed wolf rolled his eyes and bared his teeth. Why don't we add some more chips? Add some more chips? Qin Feiyong was slightly taken aback. He looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously and asked, "What do you mean?" Long Qin pursed his lips and said, "He means to capture more members of the Sea Tribe. The more Sea Tribe members there are, the more chips we have." "I'll go. You already know your brother so well? Tell me honestly, have you been secretly observing your brother?" "Actually, there's no need. We can do it openly. After all, this is your brother's charm. Everyone loves me." The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. "Oh my God!" Long Qin looked at the sky and was speechless. How could there be such a shameless person in this world? Please be merciful and accept this evildoer. Qin Feiyong could not stand it anymore and directly kicked him. Narcissism. Should there be a limit to it? He had never seen such a thick-skinned person. But your suggestion is not bad. The more Sea Tribe members there are, the more chips we have in our hands. How about this? I'll leave this matter to the two of you. Qin Feiyong smiled. Us? The white-eyed wolf's expression froze. Long Qin also looked at Qin Feiyong in shock. Asking the two of them to go to the Sea Tribe alone, was there a mistake? Wasn't he afraid that they would fight halfway? Is there a problem? Qin Feiyong was puzzled. What about you? Do you have anything to do now? The white-eyed wolf asked. Yes. I'm preparing to comprehend the ultimate meaning of the law of devour and the law of nothingness. Qin Feiyong nodded. Fuck you. You made us go to the Oceanids to mess around while you hid here to comprehend the laws. You sure know how to plan. White-eyed wolf immediately cursed. It is indeed immoral. Long Qin also glared fiercely at Qin Feiyong. Haha, Qin Feiyong laughed. They were arguing so fiercely just a moment ago, and now they were bombarding him together? This pair of enemies was really interesting. What are you laughing at? If you want to go, let's go together. It's just me and this bitch. I'm afraid she'll drag me down. The white-eyed wolf snorted. What are you talking about? Who's dragging who down? If you're not convinced, why don't we compete now? Long Qin glared at the white-eyed wolf angrily. A good man doesn't fight with a woman. The white-eyed wolf raised his head in disdain. If you don't have the guts, just say it. What a hypocrite. Long Qin didn't want to be outdone and said contemptuously. Qin Feiyong was helpless. Why were they arguing again? Couldn't they stop for a moment? He turned to look at Xiao Shui and said with a smile, "We'll go out first. I'll leave this place to you." Xiao Shui was slightly taken aback and teased. With so many ultimate mysteries, aren't you afraid that I'll secretly steal dozens or hundreds of them from Xidagarba? Qin Feiyong couldn't help but laugh. With a wave of his hand, he disappeared with the white-eyed wolf and Long Qin without a trace. Li Zhongxing immediately looked at Xiao Shui and said, "Shui, you can't do something like stuffing your own pockets. Qin Feiyong has been very good to us and promised to give us all the ultimate mysteries. If you do this, you'll be repaying kindness with evil." Xiao Shui looked at Li Zhongxing in shock. Li Zhongxing was stunned. He turned to look at the old poison and asked suspiciously, "Did I say something wrong? With your IQ, you want to chase Xiao Shui?" The old poison shook his head. Outside, although a few years had passed in the Black Tortoise world, only a short while had passed in the outside world. However, in just a short while, the news of the Sea Lion Island had spread throughout the 4 great continents. What? That's crazy. The Sea God's Island is the sacred land of the sea race. Most of the sea race's experts are here. How dare they attack the Sea God's Island so brazenly? What's Neptune doing? Why isn't he stopping them? Rumor has it that Neptune went to the Central Dynasty. The Central Dynasty? What's he doing there? I don't know. But now, the 20 sea gods of the sea race have been annihilated and more than half of their core members have been killed. It's hard to imagine what kind of reaction Neptune will have when he returns. Is there even a need to think about it? I'm afraid he'll even want to dig up Qin Feiyong's ancestral grave. Those bastards really know how to cause trouble. Compared to the Sea God's Island, the Supreme Mountain, the mythical island, and the Dragon God Mountain are just child's play. The living beings of the various continents were discussing. At this moment, the sea race on the other islands had also learned of this matter. Everyone was in a state of panic. They were afraid that Qin Feiyong would appear in front of them in the next moment. In the east of the sea, there was a huge island standing on the sea. This island was the second largest island after the Sea God's Island. The island was filled with mountains and lush greenery. Whoosh! At this moment, a space-time tunnel suddenly appeared in the sky above the island. The island was heavily guarded. The slightest movement would attract the attention of the sea race. When the space-time tunnel appeared, the experts of the sea race on the island immediately looked up. Their faces were filled with vigilance and shock. In short, the sea race was like a bird that was startled by the twang of a bow. Who could it be? It doesn't matter who it is, as long as it's not Qin Feiyong or his group. The experts of the sea race were nervous. Finally, 3 figures walked out of the space-time tunnel. When the oceanic species expert saw the 3 of them, his face turned ghastly pale. 2 men and 1 woman came out. Of the 2 men, one was dressed in white and had a calm expression, revealing confidence and calmness. The other was dressed in a long golden robe and looked unruly. Both of them looked to be in their 20s, and their auras were incomparable. As they stood in the sky, they were as dazzling as the stars in the sky. The woman next to them also looked to be in her 20s. She wore a silver-white long dress and gave off a cold feeling that kept people thousands of miles away. If it wasn't Qin Feiyong, who was the golden-winged wolf king from Longqin? Qin Feiyong is attacking. The group of experts of the sea race came back to their senses and immediately roared. At this moment, the entire island was in a mess. Qin Feiyong and the other 2 were stunned. They were discovered so quickly? So they lowered their heads and looked at the experts of the sea race. There were about 50 to 60 people. There were men and women, old and young. These must be the experts of the sea race who were responsible for protecting this island. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, a red figure swept out from the mountains below and landed in front of Qin Feiyong and the others like lightning. It was a middle-aged man in a red robe. He looked like a human and was only about 1.7 meters tall, but there were several pairs of red wings on his back. I'm Hai Yunchuan, the owner of this island. Greetings, my lords. The middle-aged man bowed to salute. Qin Feiyong and the other 2 were stunned. How could he be so humble? And he even called himself a villain? They couldn't get used to it for a while. In fact, Hai Yunchuan didn't want to be like this. But there was no other way. Neptune was not here. The sea gods were also captured. Who could help them now in the East continent? In order to protect themselves, they could only bow and scrape, hoping that the other party would let go of the sea race here. May I ask why the 3 of you have come to our small island? Hai Yunchuan lowered his head humbly and asked. Island? The white-eyed wolf glanced at the island and said, This is an island? Of course. In your eyes, this is no different from a small place. Hai Yunchuan smiled flatteringly. In fact, Hai Yunchuan's strength was not weak. As the owner of the second-largest island, he also controlled the will of heaven. But there was no other way. The other party was Qin Feiyong, the golden-winged wolf king, and Longqin. It was not something he could deal with. You're good at talking. It makes us a little embarrassed to destroy this island. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Hai Yunchuan's expression stiffened. He hastily knelt in the air. Enduring the humiliation in his heart, he shouted, Sirs, please be lenient. If you really want to attack, then kill me. I am willing to use my life in exchange for the fate of all the members of the sea race here. So righteous. The white-eyed wolf was surprised. It's my duty to protect my people. I have no other request. I just hope that the 3 lords can leave me a complete corpse. After Hai Yunchuan finished speaking, he closed his eyes and looked like he was waiting for death. But in fact, he was nervous to the extreme. Who wanted to die? It was nothing more than a trick to win the sympathy of Qin Feiyong and the other 2. The white-eyed wolf looked at Hai Yunchuan, and a trace of killing intent suddenly appeared in his eyes. He nodded and said, Okay, I'll help you. He slapped Hai Yunchuan's head. Hai Yunchuan's body shook, and he instinctively stood up to fight back. The white-eyed wolf sneered. Didn't you just say that you're willing to exchange your life for the fate of all the sea race here? It seems that you're just saying it. Feeling the white-eyed wolf's killing intent, Hai Yunchuan looked down at his people. Their faces were full of despair, and their hearts were in extreme pain. He then looked at the white-eyed wolf and slowly lowered his arm, saying, I hope you can keep your words. After that, he didn't show any signs of fighting back. The white-eyed wolf sneered and slapped him mercilessly. Accompanied by a scream, Hai Yunchuan's head was smashed on the spot. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere, and his divine soul trembled. Below, looking at this scene, all the sea race on the island were furious. Qin Feiyang looked at Hai Yunchuan's divine soul, and then looked at the sea race on the island below. He said coldly, Do it, destroy this place. What? Hai Yunchuan's divine soul was shocked and said angrily, You can't do this? You promised me. When did we promise you? It seems that you've always been the one saying it. The white-eyed wolf smiled mockingly. Hai Yunchuan trembled slightly. The other party didn't seem to have explicitly said that he would let them go. But at this moment, a violent shout sounded. Don't go too far. As the voice fell, a white-haired old man descended from the sky. Ninth Master Ji? Qin Feiyang and the other two were slightly stunned. Ninth Master, why is he here? Ninth Master Ji, save us. Seeing Ninth Master Ji descending, Hai Yunchuan hurriedly called for help as if he had seen a life-saving straw. The other sea race members were the same. In the past, everyone in the sea race didn't like the people of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan. But now, when they saw Ninth Master Ji appear, it was as if they had seen a family member. Chapter 4159. Don't panic. Jijio comforted the group of Oceanids and looked at Qin Feiyang and the other two. Are you done? Isn't destroying the sea god's island enough? Do you want to destroy the entire Oceanids? Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other. What kind of drama was this? Don't misunderstand. He's looking down on us. He wants us to protect the Oceanids. This way, not only will the Sea King no longer suspect us, he will also be grateful to our Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan. Suddenly, Jijia's voice sounded in their minds. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang suddenly understood and smiled. So, the other great-grandpas and great-grandmas are also in this sea?
Yes.
They're on another island. Jijio thought. That's right. The monarch is quite calculative. The ingrate snickered in his heart. Old man? Master Jijio was taken aback and scolded in his heart. Impudent. Also, how can this be called scheming? As long as we gain Neptune's trust, Neptune and the Central Dynasty won't hide any plans or schemes from us in the future. At that time, won't it be much easier for you to do things? Makes sense. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and said, But now that you're here, should we continue? Or retreat immediately? Of course we should continue. Otherwise, this show will be too fake. Jiju said. So, we still have to fight with you? White-eyed Wolf was stunned. Of course. And we can't show mercy. Jiju thought. The three of them looked at each other. In that case, boom. The aura of the three burst out, and they immediately attacked Jiju together. The corner of Jijia's mouth twitched. I told you not to show mercy, and you really didn't show mercy? These heartless little bastards. Qin Feiyang and the other two were wronged. Didn't you say not to show mercy? I've been following your orders all this time. Quickly leave the island. Master Jijio shouted at the members of the sea tribe on the island below. With a thought, 3,000 incarnations appeared out of nowhere and charged toward the three people like a pack of tigers and wolves. You overestimate yourself. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. 3,000 clones also appeared. A chaotic battle ensued. Hai Yunchuan's god soul immediately left the battlefield and fled with his clansmen on the island. From time to time, he would turn his head to look at Jijio, his eyes filled with worry. Everyone knew the strength of Qin Feiyang and the other two. Was this old man a match for them? I think the rumors are true. The dragon god has really colluded with Qin Feiyang and the others. I think so too. Otherwise, why hasn't he sent anyone to protect us in secret? To think that he even said that the god race, the human race, and the purple gold divine dragon race were colluding with Qin Feiyang, causing us to misunderstand the three races. What a hateful beast. All the members of the sea tribes were enraged. Battle. Soon, the battle reached its climax. Qin Feiyang and the other two waved their hands, and various ultimate mysteries roared out, including the ultimate mysteries of the law of life and death. At this moment, Master Jijio became battered and exhausted, because now, Qin Feiyang's will of the heavenly Tao had become stronger. It was on a completely different level from the last time he fought with Master Jiju in the village. You want to take the opportunity to kill me and inherit my tea garden, Master Jiju said angrily. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and secretly smiled. Thank you for reminding me, great-grandfather. The corner of Master Jiju's mouth twitched fiercely. Boom. Facing the storm-like attacks of the three, Master Jiju retreated step by step. After a while, his whole body was dripping with blood. Even Master Jiju is no match for them? What kind of monster is this Qin Feiyang? In the distance, a group of Sea Tribe members watched in horror. They were also glad that Master Jiju had stepped forward. Otherwise, who could stop these three? Rumble. The fluctuations of the battle shocked all directions. Swish. At this time, space-time passages appeared one after another. 14 old men arrived one after another. It was Boss Ji and the other old men. Great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers. You guys are too exaggerated. You don't have to come together. Qin Feiyang was helpless. Even if he had mastered the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, even if he had two wills of the heavenly Tao, he didn't dare to compete with these 15 old men. These 15 old men each had 3,000 incarnations. How terrifying would it be if they attacked together? Without thinking, Qin Feiyang immediately opened the space-time passage and left with the white-eyed wolf and Long Qin. Don't run if you have the ability. Master Jijio was indignant. He originally planned to wait for Boss Ji and the others to come and teach these three little guys a lesson, but who knew that they would run away faster than rabbits? If you don't run, are you waiting to be beaten by us? But you're really in a sorry state. Boss Ji and the others looked at Master Jijio and laughed secretly. Master Jijio's face darkened as he stared at the group of people angrily. You guys are here too? Hai Yunchuan flew over and looked at Boss Ji and the others in disbelief. Aren't you asking the obvious? After the king returned from the Sea God's Island, he immediately found us and asked us to come here to secretly protect the important islands of the Sea Tribe. Boss Ji said lightly, Thank you, King. Thank you all. Hai Yunchuan was grateful. Without these old men, he didn't dare to imagine how big of a crisis the Sea Tribe would face. Now that the Sea Lion Island was almost destroyed, there couldn't be any accidents on the other islands. We don't dare to count on your gratitude. We just hope that you won't suspect us of colluding with Qin Feiyang in the future. Ji Laosher snorted coldly. That won't happen. That won't happen. In the past, we were all instigated by the dragon god. Ji Yunchuan waved his hand. Don't talk about the dragon god. Maybe he's really innocent. Old Ji said, He's innocent? If he's really innocent, why didn't he appear now? When Lord Neptune comes back, I will immediately report this matter to him and seek justice from the dragon god. Hai Yunchuan's eyes were full of resentment. The group of old men looked at each other with a hint of smile in their eyes. They knew it. Now, the more they exonerated the dragon god, the more the Sea Tribe would believe that the dragon god colluded with Qin Feiyang. Buzz. Suddenly, in the distance, a voice transmission godstone rang. This person took it out. The figure of an old man of the Sea Tribe immediately appeared. The old man of the Sea Tribe shouted anxiously, Quickly tell your island master to bring reinforcements immediately. What's wrong? Hearing this, the Sea Tribe present were all surprised. Hai Yunchuan, Master Jijio, and the others quickly flew over. Why are these old men here? When the old man of the Sea Tribe saw Master Jijio and the others, he couldn't help but be stunned. Then, he looked at Hai Yunchuan and shouted, Qin Feiyang, Golden-Winged Wolf King. Long Qin has invaded our island. Quickly come and help. What? They went to your island so quickly? Hai Yunchuan's expression changed. Don't talk nonsense, quickly come over. The old man of the sea tribe roared anxiously. But before he finished speaking, a young man in golden clothes appeared behind the old man of the sea tribe. The old man of the sea tribe stiffened and slowly turned his head to look. Who else could it be but the white-eyed wolf? The white-eyed wolf stood behind the old man of the sea tribe and looked at Master Gigio and the others. He smiled cruelly and said, "Next, let's play a guerrilla war. Let's see if you can save the entire sea tribe." "Bastard!" Master Gigio shouted angrily. The white-eyed wolf grinned and slapped down. The old man of the sea tribe screamed and his body was shattered on the spot. The image of the transmission also disappeared. "Old senior, what should we do?" Hai Yunchuan looked at the group of old men in despair. "Don't panic. Let's immediately send a message to the king and let him inform the divine king and the human sovereign to immediately lead the experts of the three races to support us." Master Gigio comforted. "Thank you, Master Gio." Hai Yunchuan thanked him again and again. The king, the divine king, and the human sovereign were also quite cooperative. When they heard the news, they immediately mobilized a large force and came to support the sea tribe. Dragon God Mountain. The golden tiger hurriedly entered the Dragon God Mountain and looked at the dragon god sitting in the pavilion. He said excitedly, "My lord, there's news about Qin Feiyang and the others. Where are they?" The dragon god suddenly stood up, killing intent surging in his eyes. "The sea tribe," the golden tiger said. "What? They appeared in the sea tribe again?" The dragon god frowned. "Yes. Looking at their posture, they seem to be planning to take advantage of Neptune's absence to completely overthrow the sea tribe." The golden tiger nodded. "Their ambition is not small." The dragon god clenched his fists. "Then should we go now or not?" The golden tiger asked. "What do you think?" The dragon god asked back. "The sea tribe has already misunderstood us. If we go, won't we be asking for trouble?" The golden tiger frowned. He was very unhappy with the sea tribe's attitude. Each and every one of them had a pig's brain. They actually believed Qin Feiyang's nonsense. "What you said makes sense. However, if we don't go now, it's equivalent to admitting that we are colluding with Qin Feiyang." The dragon god sighed. "That's true." The golden tiger nodded. After pondering for a while, he said, "And I also received news that the group of old men from the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan are now helping the sea tribe. Then we have to go even more. Otherwise, when the time comes, the human clan, the god clan, and the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan will also believe that we are colluding with Qin Feiyang. I'll go first. Hurry up and gather the beast venerables below. All of them will go to the sea tribe to support them." The dragon god instructed and immediately opened a space-time passage to the sea. This time, the sea tribe was lively, because except for the Central Dynasty, the 5 major clans of the 4 continents were gathered in this sea area. The powerhouses of the 5 major clans gathered in one place. This was most likely the first time in the history of the Divine Kingdom. Not to mention anything else, just this point alone was enough for Qin Feiyang and the others to be recorded in the history of the Divine Kingdom. However, although the 5 major clans were gathered in the sea area, it was not that easy to catch Qin Feiyang and the other 2. Moreover, seeing the dragon god, the golden tiger, and a group of beast venerables descend, the people of the sea tribe did not welcome them at all. If not for the king and the others stopping them, the sea tribe would have driven them away directly. This made the dragon god even angrier. In his heart, his resentment towards Qin Feiyang and the others was even stronger, because all of this was caused by Qin Feiyang and the others. Chapter 4160. In just half a day, the Sea Clan's 6 islands suffered a devastating blow. Not only were the islands razed to the ground, but the Sea Clan on the islands were also captured. Even resources such as spirit veins and crystal veins disappeared one after another. However, no matter how hard the dragon god and the others tried, they could not catch Qin Feiyang and the other 2 immediately. Every time they arrived at the scene of the incident, they were one step too late. This kind of helplessness almost made them collapse, especially the Sea Clan. They had never experienced this kind of despair. They were clearly right under their noses, but they could only watch helplessly as a few people did whatever they wanted in the Sea Clan. In the end, someone made a suggestion: transfer the Sea Clan from all places to the Sea God's Island for protection. This suggestion undoubtedly solved the immediate crisis of the Sea Clan, because in this way, with the protection of the three major clans, especially the protection of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan, no matter how bold Qin Feiyong and the others were, they would definitely not dare to attack the Sea God's Island again. So, the island masters of each island ordered all the Sea Clan to rush to the Sea God's Island. The most interesting thing was, when all the Sea Clan were transferred to the Sea God's Island, all the clansmen of the Sea Clan immediately ordered the Dragon God to leave. The Dragon God originally wanted to personally protect the Sea God's Island as an explanation to Neptune. However, looking at the people of the Sea Clan, who were constantly insulting him, he was really angry in his heart. The Golden Tiger and a group of beast sovereigns almost fought with the Sea Clan. In the end, it was only under the persuasion of the king and the other two that both sides stopped the dispute. Helpless, the Dragon God could only take the Golden Tiger and a group of beast sovereigns and leave dejectedly. The Black Tortoise World. At this time, another forbidden area, the Desert of Death. This was the place where Qin Feiyong had obtained the Black Tortoise World. The Fire Lotus had also swallowed countless undead and condensed flesh and blood here. The desert stretched as far as the eye could see. The storm rolled up the yellow sand all over the sky. In the deepest part, there was a majestic building, like a peerless beast, lurking here, exuding an aura that made one's heart palpitate. This was the divine treasure of the Black Tortoise World. Every time the divine treasures opened, this desert would become a battlefield. Therefore, this place was even more terrifying than when Qin Feiyong had first obtained the Black Tortoise Realm. The yellow sand had almost turned dark red, and the smell of blood filled the air. At this moment, at a certain place, millions of members of the Oceanids had gathered here. Looking around, panic was written all over his face. These were the sea folk that Qin Feiyong and the other two had captured over the past half a day. Where is this place? Why is there not even a shadow of a ghost? What is Qin Feiyong trying to do? Kill us? Could this be the tomb he prepared for us? Thinking of this, they couldn't help but feel their scalps go numb. No, I don't want to die. Everyone, look around. There must be an exit here. But at this moment, streaks of rule force descended from the sky. Millions of members of the sea folk looked up at the sky, their faces filled with fear. The power of rules descended, forming a huge barrier, trapping all of them inside. Destroy it. Escape. Many people roared in anger. Some activated their profound laws, some activated their divine techniques, and some took out their divine artifacts to attack the barrier. But in the end, they found that they could not shake the barrier at all. Why did it become like this? Lord Neptune, come and save us. Gradually, only helplessness and despair were left in their hearts. I never thought that the Black Tortoise Realm's rule force would be so strong. Even profound laws and heaven-defying divine artifacts can't shake it. Above the barrier, Qin Feiyong and the other two stood in the sandstorm, witnessing this scene with their own eyes. Their expressions were a little strange. That's right. Among these members of the Sea Folk, many had mastered profound laws and heaven-defying divine artifacts. But even so, the barrier formed by the rule force showed no signs of breaking. Their strength is still too weak. If a group of members of the Sea Folk who have mastered profound laws comes, why don't you try and see if they can break this barrier? The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. The overall strength of the various islands of the Sea Folk differed greatly. Powerful islands such as the Sea God's Island were ridiculously strong. But weak islands, just like the millions of sea folk on the 6 islands in front of them, the strongest had only mastered profound laws. Their status in the sea folk was similar to that of ordinary humans. However, even if they were ordinary humans, they were still members of the sea folk. Neptune had to care about them, otherwise, it would make the other sea folk disappointed. This bargaining chip should be enough, right? Longqin asked, roughly estimating that there were at least 3 million sea folk here, plus the 500,000 to 600,000 sea folk suppressed in the Soul Sealing Valley. There were almost 4 million. This number was still quite scary. And Qin Feiyang nodded. The other sea folk had already been transferred to the Sea God's Island, so there was no chance to make a move now. Lord. At this time, Pai Lupi and Theta Wang flew over. Qin Feiyang looked at the two and asked, "Have you arranged the crystal veins and spirit veins for you?" The number of spirit veins and crystal veins on the 6 islands was not small. And everything has been arranged. Pai Lupi nodded. How many exactly? White-Eyed Wolf was curious. There are more than 8 million. Pai Lupi smiled. So many? White-Eyed Wolf was stunned. It was a little unexpected. He thought that there would be at most 4 to 5 million crystal veins and spirit veins. Of course, the more spirit veins and crystal veins, the better. Pai Lupi grinned, looked down at the sea folk in the barrier, and asked, "But these sea folk, do you plan to imprison them here?" The sea folk below did not notice the few people standing in the sandstorm. "Just imprison them here for now." Qin Feiyang nodded. Theta Wang was puzzled. "I don't understand. Why do you have to separate these millions of sea folk from the hundreds of thousands of sea folk in the Soul-Sealing Valley?" "It's very simple. When we negotiate with Neptune, we must show some sincerity first. These millions of sea folk in front of us are prepared for this." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "I understand. If we hand over the hundreds of thousands of sea folk in the Soul-Sealing Valley to Neptune in advance, Neptune will find that their ultimate meaning has been deprived and will not negotiate with us." Theta Wang nodded in realization. "That's right. The hundreds of thousands of sea folk in the Soul-Sealing Valley have to be left for last to give Neptune a surprise." Qin Feiyang smiled. "This is a surprise? I'm afraid it's a shock." Theta Wang smiled bitterly. He could already imagine how wonderful it would be when Neptune saw the scene of hundreds of thousands of core members being stripped of their ultimate meaning. Although he is imprisoned by the rule force, you still have to be careful. You must keep an eye on him. Qin Feiyang looked at the two and reminded them, "No problem." The two nodded. However, Pai Lupi rolled his eyes and asked, "Then, can we ask them to take out all their heaven-defying divine artifacts, divine arts, and Qin Kuan rings?" Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and teased, "With your current status in the Black Tortoise world, would you still be interested in these things? Look at what you're saying. No matter how small a mosquito's leg is, it's still meat. Let's talk about it later. Don't we still have a large group of people under us? If we don't need it, we can give it to them." Pai Lupi smiled. "Yes." Qin Feiyang slapped his head. He had forgotten about this matter. Although the two had been helping him all these years, the two still had a force in the Black Tortoise world and had many capable subordinates under them. "You see," Pai Lupi looked at Qin Feiyang expectantly. "Up to you. But I have to warn you. Just because I'm supporting you, your subordinates can act unscrupulously in the Black Tortoise world and bully others. If such a thing really happens, then don't blame me for not giving you any face." Qin Feiyang said, "Don't worry about that. We will definitely restrain them. If it really happens, you don't need to say anything. We will bring our own heads to see you." The two vowed solemnly. "That's good." Qin Feiyang nodded. He was just reminding the two of them. After all, no matter who it was, as time passed, ambition and desire would increase. Pai Lupi and Theta Wang were cultivated by him. He trusted the two of them very much. Therefore, he did not want to end their lives with his own hands one day in the future, because for him, this was a very painful thing. After Qin Feiyang and the other two left, Pai Lupi and Theta Wang looked at each other and immediately stepped in front of the barrier. "Who are you?" Looking at these unfamiliar faces, the millions of sea folk were immediately shocked. "We?" The two looked at each other and said proudly, "Of course we are the subordinates of the Lord Ruler." "Lord Ruler?" The millions of sea folk were stunned. "That's right. The place you are in now is the Lord Ruler's Black Tortoise world. As for our Lord Ruler, you should not be unfamiliar with him. He is the Qin Feiyang you are afraid of." Pai Lupi smiled eerily. Qin Feiyang, Lord Ruler. The hearts of the sea folk were in a perilous situation. There had long been rumors that Qin Feiyang had an independent world. They thought it was just a rumor, but they did not expect it to be true. I beg the two of you to help. Please tell Qin Fei Yang to let us go. We are just pawns of the sea folk. We have no value at all. After regaining their senses and suppressing the shock in their hearts, the group of sea folk looked at the two of them and begged. We don't agree with this. Pawns also have their own value. Pai Lupi sneered. They were once pawns, but now? Who dared to look down on them? Devil's Land. Outside for a long time. More than 2,000 years had passed in the Black Tortoise world. Xiao Shui and the other two had already calculated. At this time, tea garden. Qin Fei Yang sat in front of the stone table, brewing tea while looking forward. Not long later, Xiao Shui walked over quickly, her face rosy and her spirit hale and hearty. She seemed to be in a good state. Quickly speak, quickly speak. White-eyed Wolf held a jug of divine wine and looked at Xiao Shui impatiently. Then you guys should be mentally prepared. Xiao Shui sat opposite the three of them and smiled while taking out an account book. At the same time, Qin Fei Yang poured a cup of tea and pushed it in front of Xiao Shui. Thank you. Xiao Shui thanked him and picked up the teacup. She lowered her head and sipped the tea while carefully looking at the account book. After a while, she closed the account book and memorized everything. She raised her head and looked at Qin Fei Yang and the other two. She smiled and asked, Are you ready? Speak. What kind of storm have we not seen before? White-eyed Wolf waved his hand and glared at her with dissatisfaction. Chapter 4161. Xiao Shui smiled slightly and looked at the three of them. There are a total of 300,000 ultimate profundities of ordinary laws. Among them, there are more than 11,000 ultimate profundities of thunder law and more than 12,000 ultimate profundities of light law, more than 300,000 profundities. Qin Fei Yang and the other two looked at each other. While listening to Xiao Shui's report, they were extremely excited. More than 300,000 ultimate profundities of ordinary laws. Who would dare to imagine? They had never seen so many. In this way, on average, two people would have one ultimate profundity of ordinary laws. Just think about it. In the Sky Cloud realm, not to mention the strongest laws, only the dragons, the Feng people, the Kirin clan, the land of buried gods, and the reclusive old antiques of the Sky Cloud Sea had mastered ordinary laws. It could be said that, in total, there were no more than 100. But now, just one sea clan, no, just 2/3 of the sea clan on the Sea Gods Island had more than 300,000 ultimate profundities of ordinary laws. This was not on the same level at all. The Sea Gods Island was indeed worthy of being the sacred land of the Sea Clan. The quality was astonishing. As for the ultimate profundities of the strongest laws, Xiao Shui took a sip of tea and under the expectant gaze of the three, she smiled and said, There are a total of 53,211 profundities. What? Qin Fei Yang and the other two suddenly stood up. More than 53,000 profundities. This number was almost twice as much as they expected, because they originally estimated that there would be at most 20,000 to 30,000 ultimate profundities of the strongest laws. In the entire Devil's Land, there were only about 6,000 people. In other words, just close to 30,000 ultimate profundities of the strongest laws would be enough for everyone to master the will of the heavenly Tao. And now, this was more than enough. This is too shocking. Qin Fei Yang murmured, his heart unable to calm down for a long time. He really had to be mentally prepared. Otherwise, if he was not careful, his blood vessels might swell and he might die from excitement. Actually, thinking about it, there is nothing to be surprised about, because these hundreds of thousands of Sea Clan members are the core members of the Sea Clan. Many of them have mastered 3 to 4 ultimate profundities of the strongest laws. Some prodigies have also mastered 1 or 2 ultimate profundities of the strongest laws, especially those in the middle. For example, the enforcers of the 3 major races and the various sovereign beasts of the beast race. These middle-level characters basically have 1 or 2 ultimate profundities of ultimate laws. So, in that case, we'll only need around 20,000 Sea Clan members to gather 50,000 ultimate mysteries of ultimate laws. Long Qin explained, That makes sense. Thinking back, when the human race, God race, and purple gold divine dragon race surrounded us, There were at least 50 to 60,000 experts with ultimate profundities of ultimate laws. This might not be all of the three great races. They should be holding back as well. If we include all of them, I estimate that there are at least 70 to 80,000 ultimate law experts from the three major races. Even the three major races have so many, not to mention the Sea Tribe, the trusted followers of the Divine Kingdom's ruler. The white-eyed wolf nodded. The biggest reason is the Sea God's Island. The Sea God's Island is the sacred land of the Sea Tribe. Most of the Sea Tribe's experts are here. Even now, 1/3 of the Sea Tribe's experts are still on the Sea God's Island. For the entire Sea Tribe, this is a great loss. Xiao Shui smiled faintly. It's all because of that bastard, the Dragon God, who likes to meddle in other people's business. If it weren't for him, who would be able to escape from our evil clutches? The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. Be content. With so many ultimate profundities, it's enough for you to cultivate an army of death gods that will make people tremble in fear. Longqin looked at him with disdain. This was what it meant to be insatiable. Who would complain about having too many of these? Would you? The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. I'm not as greedy as you. Longqin pouted. That's true. Because you're not the same kind of person as us. You don't have the same sense of responsibility as us. Do you think that we're snatching these ultimate profundities for ourselves? No. We're doing this for the good of the Black Tortoise realm and the Sky Cloud realm. The white-eyed wolf waved his hand. When Longqin heard this, he looked at the serious white-eyed wolf in surprise. Let's not talk about the Black Tortoise realm first, because the beings of the Black Tortoise realm don't need to face the Divine Kingdom head-on. As long as we're alive, they'll always be safe. But the Sky Cloud realm is different. The beings of the Sky Cloud realm will face the danger of the Divine Kingdom's invasion at any time, and you also know that there are only a handful of people in the Sky Cloud realm who have mastered the ultimate profundities. With their strength, they simply can't fight against the Divine Kingdom. So, since we have this opportunity now, we naturally have to seek more benefits for the Sky Cloud realm. In other words, while we weaken the Divine Kingdom, we're also strengthening the Sky Cloud realm. This is killing two birds with one stone. Isn't it great? The white-eyed wolf chuckled. The corner of Longqin's mouth twitched, and he asked, So now, you still plan to hunt down the Sea Clan and the Beast Clan and snatch their ultimate profundities? Of course. With such a big treasure in front of us, you want me to just watch? I can't do it. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Treasure? Longqin's cheeks kept twitching. He actually regarded the Beast Clan and the Sea Clan as a big treasure. If the Sea Clan and the Beast Clan heard this, who knew what they would think? Of course. The premise is that your brother has to continue to help us. The white-eyed wolf put on a flattering smile. Longqin rolled his eyes. Did he really treat her brother as a tool? Actually, I won't let you work for free. In the future of the Sky Cloud realm, you siblings will definitely be recorded in the annals of history, and your names will be passed down through the ages. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Who cares? Longqin disdainfully said. Cut the crap. Give us the ultimate profound meaning we need first. All right. The white-eyed wolf nodded and looked at Xiao Shui with a smile. Give her whatever she wants? Okay. Xiao Shui nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, In that case, call the others over, including Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing, the demon ancestor, and the demon dragon beside the demon ancestor. Demon dragon? The white-eyed wolf was slightly taken aback and frowned. If you didn't mention it now, I would have already forgotten about this guy's existence. In all these years in the Black Tortoise realm, there was no trace of the demon dragon. Presumably, it must be hiding in the demon ancestor's spatial divine object and cultivating in a low profile. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang patted his head and looked at the white-eyed wolf. There seems to be two more people. Who? The white-eyed wolf was suspicious. Zhang Xiaoyang and Guo Sueki. Qin Feiyang said. Zhang Xiaoyang? The white-eyed wolf was taken aback. He still remembered Guo Sueki. This was an interesting incident. Back then, she pretended to be Qin Feiyang's fiancée and caused quite a stir. Later, Guo Sueki had been following Mu Tianyang and hiding in Mu Tianyang's spatial divine object. But this Zhang Xiaoyang, he really did not have any impression of him. Zhang Xiaoyang is someone I met when Hua Yi and I went to Dongling to look for the demon ancestor and Dongjingyang. He has a good relationship with the demon ancestor, and at that time, he even fought side by side with us. Later, when we entered Divine Prefecture, the demon ancestor also kept him by his side. But all these years, I haven't seen him appear. He should have been in the demon ancestor's spatial divine object, Qin Feiyang said as he recalled. Back then, when he entered Dongling to look for the demon ancestor and Dongjingyang, many interesting things happened. Miss Tianxian, he got to know her at that time. The most famous Tianxian wine of the Heaven Immortal Tower was a top-grade wine that the White-Eyed Wolf, Hua Yi, Frenzy, and the Five-Clawed Golden Dragon coveted. The White-Eyed Wolf said, "So, there are still many people hiding in our Devil's Land? What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. Since Guosweki and Zhang Xiaoyang are hiding in the spatial divine objects of the demon ancestor and Mu Tianyang, then we can't rule out that there are others in their spatial divine objects. The White-Eyed Wolf chuckled. This, Qin Feiyang did not dare to make an assertion. He waved his hand and said, "No matter how many people are hiding around them, it doesn't matter to us now." That's true. What Guosweki? What am Long? I can kill them in a second. The White-Eyed Wolf smiled proudly. Look at how cocky you are. At this moment, Long Qin had already obtained the ultimate profound from Qiao Shui and directly cast a look of disdain at the White-Eyed Wolf. When men talk, women move to the side. The White-Eyed Wolf's face darkened. I can't be bothered to talk nonsense with you. Long Qin smiled in disdain and immediately stood up to leave. Where are you going? The White-Eyed Wolf looked at her suspiciously. Of course, I'm going to look for Big Brother, and also go into seclusion to fuse the ultimate profound. If there's nothing, don't bother me. After saying that, Long Qin left without turning back. The White-Eyed Wolf waved his hand and shouted, "Then take care. I won't send you off. Don't ever come out of seclusion." Long Qin paused and turned her head to glare at the White-Eyed Wolf. After Long Qin left, Xiao Shui looked at the White-Eyed Wolf with a strange expression. What? The White-Eyed Wolf touched his face. Was there something on his face? Brother Wolf, there's something wrong with you. Xiao Shui smiled meaningfully. Something's wrong? The White-Eyed Wolf was stunned. What's going on? Xiao Shui said, your current relationship with Long Qin is a little more than an ordinary friendship. Tell me honestly, have you already developed feelings for her? What the hell? The White-Eyed Wolf immediately jumped up and said angrily, your imagination is too rich. Is that really the case? Then why did you subconsciously ask where she was going when she left earlier? That's an instinctive reaction. It means that you're now very concerned about her every move. In other words, you're concerned about her. It's just that you haven't noticed it yourself. Xiao Shui smiled slightly. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. He didn't notice it before, but after hearing Xiao Shui's words, it seemed to be the case. Although the two of them often bickered, from the White-Eyed Wolf's reaction, he did show some concern for Long Qin. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at the White-Eyed Wolf. Since we're talking about this problem now, I'll have a good talk with you. Talk about what? The White-Eyed Wolf frowned. About you and Long Qin. You know my character. I'm very loyal when it comes to relationships. But I'm me, and you're you. I won't interfere with your love life, and I won't force you to be like me. However, there are some things that you have to deal with. You already have Fire Dance now. You can't do anything that will make her sad. Qin Feiyang said. The remaining 2 chapters will be released before 11 o'clock. Chapter 4162. Why are you the same as Xiao Shui? Why would brother take a fancy to her? Sister Feng is the only one in brother's heart. The White-Eyed Wolf looked at Qin Feiyang speechlessly. Brother Wolf. As the saying goes, the onlookers see more clearly than the players involved. All of us have seen it with our own eyes. Of course, if you and Long Qin really want to develop your relationship, we definitely won't object to it. But first, you have to get Fire Dance's consent. Xiao Shui chuckled. You're getting more and more ridiculous. The white-eyed wolf got up and glared at Qin Feiyang and Xiao Shui. I can't be bothered to listen to your nonsense. Hurry up and give me the ultimate profound meaning. I'm going into seclusion. What's the hurry? I'm not done yet. If you don't like Long Qin, you'd better keep a distance from her in the future and not provoke her. Although it's free love now, I'm more against it from the bottom of my heart. Besides, Longzuan and Ice Dragon will definitely not agree. Qin Feiyang shook his head. All right. I'll keep a distance from her in the future, lest you let your imagination run wild. The white-eyed wolf rubbed his forehead, looking speechless. Him and Long Qin? How could that be possible? All right, you're an adult, not a child. You have to know your limits. Qin Feiyang shook his head and shouted, Everyone, gather at the tea garden. Whoosh! After a while, many figures broke through the air and arrived. Everyone's face was filled with anticipation. This was because they knew that they were going to be given the ultimate profound meaning. However, he did not see Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing, and the demon ancestor. What's going on? Do we have to invite them personally? The white-eyed wolf was dissatisfied. They must think that they won't get a share. Therefore, they can't be bothered to join in the fun. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He looked at Xiao Shui and said, Give me 10 of each ultimate profound meaning. Okay. Xiao Shui nodded. There were 10 of each type, so there were a few hundred of them in total. Qin Feiyang left the tea garden and walked towards the 2 courtyards after obtaining these hundreds of ultimate profound meanings. These 2 courtyards were the residences of the ancestral fiend trio. Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing lived together. The fiend ancestor lived alone. Are you there? Qin Feiyang stood in front of the demon Alpha's courtyard. He looked at the closed door and smiled. A short while later, fiend ancestor opened the door and walked out suspiciously. Qin Feiyang entered the courtyard and looked at the courtyard next to it. He smiled and said, Mu Tianyang, Mu Qing, you two come out as well. What do you mean? The 2 of them walked out of the pavilion with a suspicious look on their faces. Qin Feiyang asked, Don't you care about what's happening in the tea garden? I thought it was something else. Mu Tianyang was speechless. He turned around and prepared to enter the loft. Wasn't this wasting his precious time? Wait. Qin Feiyang hurriedly stopped Mu Tianyang and said unhappily, I've personally delivered the ultimate profound meanings to you, and you still have this attitude? What? Mu Tianyang was stunned. He turned his head and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The hundreds of ultimate profound meanings that Xiao Shui gave him immediately appeared. He looked at the 3 of them and said, Pick whatever you want. The 3 of them looked at each other. Didn't he not count them? Originally, I didn't plan to give them to you, but there's no other way. I've obtained too many ultimate profound meanings this time. I thought about it a little. Anyway, it's a waste to keep them, so I might as well give them to you. Qin Feiyang chuckled. The 3 of them looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Don't look at me like that. I'm a good person. Qin Feiyang bared his teeth. Hearing this, the 3 of them rolled their eyes. However, they were all smart people. Qin Feiyang's words were obviously teasing them. In other words, in fact, Qin Feiyang did count them in. It was just that at that time in the Soul Sealing Valley, he deliberately teased them. But they didn't know. At that time in the Soul Sealing Valley, he wasn't teasing them. He was testing them. Of course, regarding this test, since the 3 of them didn't notice, Qin Feiyang didn't want to expose it. After all, some things were not good to expose. Thank you. This time, Mu Tianyang and Mu Qing were all smiles. Moreover, they didn't know what was polite at all. They ran over and began to look for the ultimate profound meanings that they needed. Demon Ancestor glanced at the 2 of them, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, What about Dong Xingyang? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Anyway, I have extra now. I don't need 9th Master Ji's help. I'll send it to Dong Xingyang later. That's good too. Even if 9th Master Ji and the others have an inheritance, it will definitely be limited. Save as much as you can. Demon Ancestor nodded. Yes. Hurry up and pick one too. There's also a Molong share. As for Zhang Xiaoyang and Guosweki, they don't need to master all the ultimate profound meanings. You guys can pick 6 ultimate profound meanings for them. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. As soon as these words came out, the 3 of them couldn't help but be stunned. Demon Ancestor came back to his senses and asked, "You mean Imo Long can also fuse all the ultimate profound meanings?" "Yes. After all, it's a partner that has gone through life and death with you. I believe that you also want to see it become stronger so that you can fight side by side with it in the future." Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Although it had been a long time since he saw Imo Long, it wasn't hard to imagine that Imo Long's current strength was definitely not that great. Looking at Demon Ancestor's current strength, it was getting stronger and stronger. In such a situation, not to mention fighting side by side in the future, he probably wasn't even qualified to be cannon fodder. When Demon Ancestor heard this, he took a deep breath and bowed. "Thank you. It's fine." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and then said, "As for Zhang Xiaoyang and Guosweki, I gave them the ultimate profound meanings and let them master heavens will because I trust you guys." The meaning of these words was obvious. Giving them the ultimate profound meanings was to give them face. At the same time, I trust that you guys can restrain them well. Don't worry. Zhang Xiaoyang is quite a good person. Demon Ancestor chuckled, then looked at Mu Tianyang and said, "However, this Guosweki." Mu Tianyang stared at Demon Ancestor, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a bitter smile, "Guosweki does hate you, but now, she feels more powerless in her heart. After all, your current strength is too strong." As for this woman, Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and smiled. "I just want to say that I can create her now, and I can also destroy her in the future." Haha, Mu Tianyang laughed. Domineering enough. However, no one dared to doubt his words. At the same time, in Mu Tianyang's spatial divine item, Guosweki was sitting in a cultivation room. When she heard Qin Feiyang's words, there was a trace of fear that couldn't be removed. Although Qin Feiyang didn't know about her situation, she knew about Qin Feiyang's situation like the back of her hand. Looking at Qin Feiyang getting scarier by the day, to be honest, she had already given up on the idea of revenge. It wasn't that she wanted to give up, but she no longer had the courage to take revenge. In the courtyard, when Demon Ancestor and the other 2 found the ultimate profound they needed, Qin Feiyang didn't continue to stay. He kept the remaining ultimate profound and left the Black Tortoise world. He opened a space-time tunnel and quietly landed in front of the village. There was no one in the village. Were they still on the Sea God's Island? Just as he was about to step into the village, a barrier appeared and stopped him outside. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly. He couldn't forcefully break the barrier, right? He then turned around and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, a young man pushed open the door and walked out. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He raised his head and looked. Who else could it be but Dong Zhengyang? He asked, "You didn't follow Master Jiao and the others?" "No. Before leaving, they told me to stay in the secret room in the village to cultivate in seclusion." Dong Zhengyang smiled. With a wave of his hand, a crack opened in the barrier. Qin Feiyang walked in and said with a smile, "How does it feel to be here alone? Isn't it the same anywhere?" Dong Zhengyang shook his head and smiled. He asked, "Are you here to look for Master Jiao and the others?" "No, I'm here to look for you." Qin Feiyang took out the ultimate profound and said with a smile, "Pick whatever you want." "So many?" Dong Zhengyang was stunned. "Are there many?" "Let me tell you, there are more in the Black Tortoise world now." Qin Feiyang chuckled. "So, Long Chun has agreed to help you?" Dong Zhengyang asked. And Qin Feiyang nodded. "It's not easy. However, it also shows that this Long Chun is indeed not bad. You have to cherish this friend," Dong Zhengyang reminded. "I know." Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. As long as Long Chun didn't fall out with him, he would never fall out with him. "Then I won't stand on ceremony." Dong Zhengyang smiled and glanced at the ultimate profound in front of him. In the end, he took away the 5 ultimate profound laws. 5? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Master Jiao and the others have already given me the inheritance of the ultimate profound laws of space-time. Dong Zhengyang said. "I see." Qin Feiyang nodded in realization. This group of elders was indeed generous. Next, He found the ultimate profound laws of various ordinary laws, as well as the ultimate profound laws of nothingness and the ultimate profound laws of devour, and gave them to Dong Zhengyang. Why are you giving me so many? As long as you can master the will of heaven. Dong Zhengyang was stunned. It's fine. Anyway, I have more than enough now. Qin Feiyang smiled. Dong Zhengyang looked at him speechlessly and said, Why do you look like a nouveau riche? It's also glorious to be a nouveau riche. Qin Feiyang chuckled and couldn't help but glance at the back of the mountain. Stop, stop. Seeing this, Dong Zhengyang hurriedly turned Qin Feiyang's head and said, You must not be tempted by the tea garden at the back of the mountain. Master Ju will really fight you to the death. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and said with a smile, It's because Long Chun has helped us so much. So I want to use this opportunity to thank him properly. Don't you have divine tea now? If you want to thank him, just give him a few. Dong Zhengyang rolled his eyes. How can I bear to? There are only a few dozen in total. Compared to Master Jia's tea garden, it's not worth mentioning. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Dong Zhengyang was speechless. These people really treated tea as their life. Chapter 4163. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and asked, You've been with Lord Nine for so long. Do you know what hobbies he has? Hobbies? Dong Zhengyang lowered his head and pondered for a while. Then, he shook his head and said, Other than playing chess and drinking tea, he doesn't have any other hobbies? That's true. He's already so old. What other hobbies can he have? Qin Feiyang nodded. Don't think so much. No matter how you cater to his interests, he won't give you the tea trees. If you really want it, then do it openly. If he doesn't give it to you, then pester him. Because after this period of time, I found that although Lord Nine looks strong on the surface, he's actually quite soft-hearted. Dong Zhengyang smiled. Pester him. Qin Feiyang murmured and nodded with a smile. Okay, I'll give it a try when Lord Nine comes back. You're not going to leave? Dong Zhengyang was stunned. Why should I leave? Where else is safer than here? I'll go to the tea garden first. Qin Feiyang chuckled mischievously and ran towards the back of the mountain like a wisp of smoke. Don't mess around. Dong Zhengyang hurriedly put away his ultimate meaning and followed him worriedly. The barrier not only covered the village, but also the tea garden. Therefore, there was no independent barrier at the peak of the back mountain. The two entered the tea garden. Every time he thought of the tea trees here, he couldn't help but drool, let alone standing in the tea garden now. His impulsive little hands were somewhat uncontrollable. Dong Zhengyang kept staring at him vigilantly. Lord Nine asked him to stay in the village for two reasons. First, to cultivate diligently. Second, to take care of the village. If Qin Feiyang couldn't help but take away a few tea trees now, Lord Nine would definitely settle the score with him when he came back. He couldn't afford to take the blame. How long has it been? You're already siding with outsiders? Qin Feiyang looked at Dong Zhengyang speechlessly, guarding against him as if he was a thief. Cut it out. Dong Zhengyang rolled his eyes at him. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. With a thought, a young man in white appeared beside him. It was Long Chun. I'll go. Long Chun was a little confused at first, but when he saw the tea trees around him, his eyes lit up. Dong Zhengyang's eyelids twitched. He was ready to stop these two bandits at any time. Brother Long, how is it? Qin Feiyang chuckled. Unheard of, Long Chun exclaimed in surprise. He quickly noticed the 4 divine Bodhi trees and slowly walked over. He stretched out his hand and gently stroked a Bodhi leaf. His eyes were filled with infatuation. Long Chun, I'm warning you. Don't act recklessly. Dong Zhengyang said. Long Chun was stunned. He turned to look at Dong Zhengyang and asked, You're here too? Dong Zhengyang's expression froze. Could it be that before this, he had always been heir? Sorry, I didn't notice you before. Long Chun laughed dryly. All right. Dong Zhengyang was helpless. Was his presence so insignificant? He couldn't even compare to a few tea trees? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, Brother Long, why don't we cultivate in seclusion here? Long Chun was stunned and asked, Can we? Of course. As long as we don't act recklessly, will Lord Nine chase us away? Qin Feiyang nodded. Long Chun was stunned and said, "From what you said, you're planning to stay here and not leave? Isn't this all for you? As the saying goes, where sincerity reaches, even metal and stone will split. As long as we persevere, Lord Nine will definitely be moved by us." Qin Feiyang chuckled. "I think it's the spirit of shamelessness," Dong Xingyang suddenly said. Qin Feiyang twitched the corner of his mouth and said with a dark face, "Are we still brothers? I'm on the side of reason, not kinship." Dong Xingyang pursed his lips. Long Chin's gaze swept over the tea garden. Very seriously, very solemnly, he nodded. Brother Qin's words are correct. Sincerity can move metal and stone. We have to use sincerity and perseverance to move Lord Jiu. It's over. Another one who has gone mad. Dong Zhengyang looked at the sky speechlessly. Was this divine tea really that attractive? During the time he was in the village, he saw these tea trees almost every day, but he didn't think it was that attractive. Then let's go. We'll cultivate in seclusion there, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Next to the tea garden, there was a small wooden house with 2 floors. It was very simple and plain. This was where Lord Nine usually lived. The 3 of them walked to the front of the wooden house. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and set up a 5,000 years a day time array. It merged with the ground and immediately enveloped the entire wooden house. The 2 of them didn't know how to be polite. They ran to the 2nd floor and stood on the balcony, looking at the tea garden in front of them. It really felt like they were sitting on the world's most precious treasure. Dong Zhengyang followed with a speechless face. "Oh right, there's something I have to report to you." Long Chun suddenly turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile. "Report?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Yes. Previously in the Black Tortoise world, I asked little Qin to ask Xiao Shui for some ultimate profoundness." Long Chun smiled. "Didn't I give you enough?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. "Yes." Long Chun nodded. "Then why do you still want it? Don't tell me there are other people hiding around you?" Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. "How can that be? Back then, the white-eyed wolf personally went to my space divine item to check. Other than some medicinal herbs and tea trees, there was nothing else." Long Chun said with a smile. Qin Feiyang looked at Long Chun for a moment, shook his head and said with a smile, "If you want it, would I dare to say no?" He did not ask further. Although their relationship was very good now, it was better not to get to the bottom of some things. "You're quite smart. Otherwise, it will be a little difficult to ask for my help in the future." Long Chun laughed. Qin Feiyang shook his head and could not help but laugh. Hence, the 2 of them sat cross-legged on the balcony and began to comprehend the laws. Seeing this, Dong Zhengyang also accompanied the 2 of them. After a while, Xiao Shui's voice rang in Qin Feiyang's mind. "The ultimate profoundness has been distributed, and there are still many left. How should we deal with it? Leave it to Fire Lotus. Let her keep it for now." Qin Feiyang thought for a moment and transmitted his voice. "Okay, there's one more thing. Long Qin came to me again and asked for a lot of ultimate profoundness. There are about 300 of them." Xiao Shui said again. "I know about this. It's Long Qin's idea. Long Chun has already told me." Qin Feiyang responded in secret. "That's good. If there's nothing else, I'll go into seclusion," Xiao Shui said. "Okay," Qin Feiyang replied and suddenly asked in secret, "Wait a minute. Are there any laws of light and darkness among the ultimate profoundness?" "Yes, but not many. Only 5. Xiao Shui replied. "So few?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. After all, the laws of light and darkness require the fusion of the laws of light and darkness. "It's not easy," Xiao Shui said. "It's not difficult to even master the laws of light and darkness. No wonder no one in the Divine Kingdom can comprehend the laws of life and death. How about this? Give me 2 of the laws of light and darkness. The remaining 3 will be given to Long Qin, White-Eyed Wolf, and Senior Brother Feng Zi." Qin Feiyang said. "Okay." Xiao Shui nodded. Very soon, 2 clusters of intertwined black and white flames appeared in front of Qin Feiyang. The black side was like a bottomless black hole. The white side was like the wings of an angel, exuding a sacred aura. Long Chun and Dong Jingyang opened their eyes and said in surprise, "The laws of light and darkness." "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Long Chun with a smile. "We'll each take one. As for Brother Dong, I'm sorry. If I have the chance to meet you in the future, I'll give it to you." "Look at what you're saying. I'm already very satisfied to be able to master the will of heaven." Dong Zhengyang waved his hand and smiled. Hundreds of thousands of Sea Clan people were captured by Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, and Long Qin. The ultimate profound was stripped by Long Chun with the soul control technique. He was just sitting back and enjoying the fruits of others' labor. If he wasn't satisfied with this, then he really had no conscience. And Qin Feiyang now only lacked the laws of light and darkness, the law of nothingness, and the law of devour. As long as he mastered these three supreme laws, as well as other ordinary laws, then he would have all the laws. Moreover, compared to Long Qin, Long Qin, Fengzi, and White-Eyed Wolf, he had one more law, and that was the law of life and death. In other words, no matter what, as long as no one comprehended the law of life and death, then he was still the strongest. Time flew by. Half a month passed outside. In the early morning of this day, Qin Feiyang, who was in seclusion, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the rising sun in the east. His eyes were full of surprise, because at this moment, he suddenly felt an inexplicable throbbing. "What's wrong?" Dong Jingyang and Long Chun noticed Qin Feiyang's emotional fluctuations and opened their eyes one after another, looking at him suspiciously. "Strange." Qin Feiyang shook his head. The throbbing in his heart became more and more intense. This feeling was very familiar to him, but it also seemed very strange. "Wait a minute." Suddenly, his gaze trembled, and he suddenly got up, his eyes flashing with dazzling brilliance. "What's wrong with you?" Long Chun and Dong Zhengyang were a little frightened. "It's him, that's right. In this world, only he can give me this feeling." Qin Feiyang suddenly roared, hugging Dong Zhengyang and Long Chun in wild joy. The two looked at each other. What was going on? Why did Qin Feiyang, who had always been calm and collected, become like a child? Him? Who was this him? That's right. It must be him. He really didn't die. Qin Feiyang let go of the two, completely unaware of his gaffe, and once again looked to the east, his hands tightly clenched together. Didn't die? The two were stunned. Suddenly, Long Qin looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Are you talking about the inner demons?" "Inner demons?" Dong Zhengyang's gaze also trembled and immediately looked at Qin Feiyang. Of course, he was no stranger to the inner demons. In the past, in Great Qin and the Forgotten Continent, the terrifying means of the inner demons were the nightmare of countless creatures. If it wasn't for the fact that in order to save Qin Feiyang, he entered the miracle alone to search for the ice dragon, the inner demons' current strength might be even more terrifying than Qin Feiyang. And now, looking at Qin Feiyang's surprised look, could it be that he had sensed the aura of the inner demons? Because between the original body and the inner demons, they could feel each other's existence. Chapter 4164. The inner demons are not dead. That's really good news. Long Chun smiled from the bottom of his heart. Because the inner demons were not dead, Lu Jijin was not dead either. As long as the two of them were not dead, there was hope for the grudge between Qin Feiyang and his father to be resolved. All these years in the Devil's Land, although he had been in seclusion and didn't have much contact with everyone, he could feel the harmonious atmosphere. There was no struggle, no ambition, unity and harmony. Moreover, whether it was a human or a ferocious beast, all of them were sentimental and righteous. In such a place, no matter who it was, as long as they slowly got along with each other, it would be difficult for them to give up. In such a group of people, he couldn't bear to hurt them. There was only one way to not hurt them: reconciliation. So at this moment, knowing that the inner demons were still alive, the joy in his heart was no less than Qin Feiyang's. This was sincere, from the bottom of his heart. It's indeed good news. But why is he in the divine kingdom? Dong Zhengyang asked. Qin Feiyang calmed down and looked at Dong Zhengyang. You have to ask Brother Long's father. That year, the disappearance of the inner demons was related to Ice Dragon. The inner demons were now in the divine kingdom, which must be related to Ice Dragon. Dong Zhengyang looked at Long Chun. Don't look at me. I don't know anything. Long Chun smiled bitterly. Your son is a bit of a failure. Dong Zhengyang smiled mockingly. You can laugh all you want. Long Chun shook his head helplessly, pondered for a while, and frowned. But there is one point that I don't understand. Dong Zhengyang asked, what you want to say is, why didn't Qin Feiyang sense the existence of the inner demons when he was in the divine kingdom? That's right. We've been in the divine kingdom for so long. If the inner demons were already in the divine kingdom, Brother Qin should have sensed the existence of the inner demons the moment he entered the divine kingdom. But why did I only sense it now? Long Chen frowned. Maybe he's in seclusion somewhere? Dong Zhengyang guessed. Even if they are in seclusion somewhere, it shouldn't affect their ability to sense each other. Long Chen's eyes flickered. He looked to the east and murmured, Neptune must have returned from the Central Dynasty. The east was where the East Continent was located. What do you mean? Dong Zhengyang and Qin Feiyang were stunned. What does Neptune's return from the Central Dynasty have to do with the appearance of the inner demons? But in the next moment, their gazes trembled. Could it be that the inner demons used to be in the Central Dynasty? That's impossible. The Central Dynasty was a place where even the monarch, the divine king, and the supremes of the human race couldn't enter freely. How could the inner demons be in the Central Dynasty? Can you sense the exact location of the inner demons? Long Chun looked at Qin Feiyang and asked.
Yes.
Qin Feiyang nodded and closed his eyes again. About 10 breaths later, suddenly, he opened his eyes and said, The Sea God's Island. The Sea God's Island? Long Chun and Dong Zhengyang looked at each other. At the same time, the Sea God's Island. The Sea God's Island was currently overcrowded. In the sky, Ninth Master Ji and a group of elders sat cross-legged in the void, exuding a murderous aura. Their existence was akin to that of gods. As long as they saw them, they would feel at ease and safe. During this period of time, the Oceanids were grateful to these elders. As for the dragon god, the monarch, and the other experts of the 3 races, they had all left, because these 15 elders were enough to deter everyone. Suddenly, a space-time passage appeared. The 15 elders immediately opened their eyes and looked at the space-time passage. It's these kids again? But in the next moment, a glint flashed across their eyes, because they had already sensed the aura of the newcomer. One of the aura was Neptune. In other words, Neptune had returned from the Central Dynasty. They were really looking forward to seeing who would come with Neptune to the East Continent. The senior members of the Oceanids and the island owners also sensed Neptune's aura. They all rose into the sky and welcomed Neptune with excitement. Finally, under everyone's gaze, a middle-aged man walked out of the space-time passage. It was Neptune. When Neptune appeared, he was stunned when he saw the senior members of the Oceanids and the island owner, Hai Yunchuan. What was going on? Why were the island owners on the Sea God's Island? Soon, when he saw Ninth Master Ji and the others, his body suddenly stiffened. Why were these elders on the Sea God's Island? Were they here to welcome the people from the Central Dynasty? But there was no news in advance. Would the Central Dynasty send people to the East Continent with him? Lord Neptune, Hai Yunchuan was about to speak. What's the matter? Let's talk later. Neptune waved his hand and turned to look at the space-time passage with a respectful expression. Seeing this, everyone looked at the space-time passage. Ninth Master Ji and the other elders looked at each other curiously. Whoosh! Immediately, an old man with white hair walked out of the passage. The old man was stooped and his face was old. He held a white dragon head walking stick in his hand and wore a white robe. He looked very weak, and his eyes were cloudy as if he had one foot in the coffin. This was a very inconspicuous old man. Even behind him, there was no sense of danger. But it was this old man that made the Sea King extremely respectful. After the old man with white hair came out, a group of young men and women walked out of the passage one after another. There were a total of 10 people. The man had a dignified appearance and was extraordinarily handsome. The woman was tall and slender and had a heavenly beauty. Anyway, Each of them had an extraordinary temperament. They were like cranes in a flock of chickens. It's them. Ninth Master Ji and the other elders looked at two of them and narrowed their eyes slightly. These two people were tall and straight. One had black hair like a waterfall and an ethereal temperament. The other had bloody hair and a bloody aura all over his body. But they were wearing masks on their faces, and their faces couldn't be seen clearly. Only their eyes could be seen. The black-haired youth's eyes were like two dark black holes, frightening people's souls. The eyes of the red-haired youth were like condensed blood. One could even vaguely see an endless sea of blood and millions of corpses in his eyes. The East Continent. We're back again. The two young men looked at each other with a trace of a smile in their eyes. But the other 8 young men and women had a trace of curiosity between their eyebrows. At the same time, they looked at the Sea Clan in front of them with a natural arrogance. It was as if these Sea Clan members were ants in their eyes. Greetings, lords. Under Neptune's instructions, Hai Yunchuan and the others bowed and saluted. Rise. The white-haired old man smiled hoarsely and glanced at the Sea Clan members. Finally, his eyes fell on Ninth Master Ji and the others. He smiled and said, Old friend, long time no see. How are you? I was wondering who it was. So it's you, old man. Ninth Master Ji smiled. The white-haired old man said, It's been almost 1,000,000 years since we last met. I didn't expect you to still remember this, old man. How can we forget you? Ninth Master Ji smiled. But there was a trace of murderous intent under his smile. And he didn't hide his murderous intent. The white-haired old man and the other 10 young men and women could clearly sense it. But to this, the group of people didn't take it seriously. But the other Sea Clan members were a bit confused. Did Ninth Master Ji have a grudge against this lord of the Central Dynasty? Where are the sea gods? Why didn't they come to welcome the lord of the Central Dynasty? Neptune glanced at the people in front of him and couldn't help but frown. Hearing this, Hai Yunchuan and the others' eyes dimmed and their faces were filled with anger. What's going on? Neptune also had a bad feeling in his heart. Since Neptune is back, then we'll take our leave, Ninth Master Ji said, and opened a tunnel. Thank you. Goodbye, seniors. The senior members of the Sea Clan bowed and sent them off. The more Neptune looked at them, the more confused he became. After the seniors left, Neptune immediately looked at the senior members and frowned. What's going on? Why are they on the Sea God's Island? And why are there so many of them? Lord, please punish us. The senior members looked at each other and knelt in front of Neptune. Seeing this, the white-haired old man and the 10 young men also had a suspicious look. Speak. Looking at these people, Neptune felt even more uneasy. It's the dragon god and Qin Feiyang. Hai Yunchuan shouted angrily. What do you mean? Neptune frowned. Not long after you left, Qin Feiyang brought the golden-winged wolf king and Long Qin to the Sea God's Island. 2/3 of the people on the Sea God's Island were taken away by them. All 19 sea gods fell into their hands, and we don't know if they're still alive. Hearing this, Neptune's face turned pale. And then, Qin Feiyang and the other 2 appeared on other islands and took away millions of our people. Lord Neptune, it's all our fault. We didn't protect our people. Please punish us. The senior members lowered their heads and their faces were full of hatred for the dragon god and Qin Feiyang. Bastard! Neptune was furious. What does this have to do with the dragon god? Hai Yunchuan said angrily. The dragon god told Qin Feiyang that you were in the Central Dynasty. What? Neptune's face froze. That's impossible. How could the dragon god do such a thing? The white-haired old man couldn't believe it, but other than the dragon god, even the king, the divine king, and the human lord didn't know that Neptune was in the Central Dynasty. If it wasn't the dragon god, who else could it be? Hai Yunchuan looked at the white-haired old man and questioned. The white-haired old man frowned. He didn't expect that something like this would happen when Neptune was in the Central Dynasty. The dragon god, Neptune whispered. Lord, this time, if it weren't for the human race, the god race, and the purple gold divine dragon race, the oceanic race would have been wiped out. Someone sighed. The dragon god asked, So, Boss G and the others were here to protect the Sea God's Island? Yes. They've been on the sea god's island all this time to protect us. Everyone nodded. 2 more. Release before 11 o'clock. Chapter 4165. So that's how it is. I knew these old guys wouldn't be so kind as to welcome us. The white-haired old man laughed with a hoarse voice. Neptune glanced at the white-haired old man, not in the mood to laugh at all. Sir, we didn't protect our clansmen well, but the dragon god betraying us is even more unforgivable. Sir, please kill the dragon god and avenge our clansmen. A group of higher-ups angrily roared. The countless seafolk on the island below were also filled with killing intent. Neptune was silent. Actually, he didn't believe that the dragon god would betray him. But in the current situation, the dragon god had already caused public anger. If he helped the dragon god at this time, his clansmen would also be dissatisfied with him. What exactly is going on here? Indeed, only the dragon god knew about his trip to the Central Dynasty. Wait a minute. Omniscient Eye. Could it be that Mu Qing used the Omniscient Eye to spy on his whereabouts? With that thought, Neptune looked at the white-haired old man and asked, Yulao, how about you rest on the sea god's island for a bit? All right. The white-haired old man nodded, then looked at the 10 young men and women behind him and laughed with a hoarse voice. It's rare for you to leave the Central Dynasty. Take this chance to take a stroll. All right. The 10 of them nodded. Hearing that, Neptune looked at the 10 of them and said, If that's the case, you can take the sea god's badge and go in and out of the cities. It'll be more convenient. Saying so, Neptune took out 10 golden badges. Each of them was the size of a baby's palm, with the word sea carved on the front and the picture of the sea god on the back. The 10 of them grabbed the badges and looked at them curiously, then left in groups of 2s and 3s, opening a space-time tunnel and leaving with curious expressions. However, just as the 2 masked young men were about to enter the space-time tunnel, the blood-robed young man suddenly looked up at the void of space in the distance. What's wrong? The black-haired young man was suspicious. Nothing. The blood-robed young man waved his hand and smiled, then entered the space-time tunnel without looking back. At the same time, in the distance, above the ocean, the black tortoise world was hidden in the void. Qin Feiyang, Long Chun, and Dong Xingyang stood side by side as they looked at the sea god's island on the screen. To be exact, they were looking at the blood-red clothed youth and the black-clothed youth. That's right. It's them. Qin Feiyang was very excited. Although both of them were wearing masks, their auras were all too familiar. She would never forget it. It was the inner demons and big cousin. Dong Zhengyang also recognized the two, and his face was full of joy. He had the eye of destiny, and he had always believed that the inner demons and Lu Jiajin couldn't possibly die, especially Lu Jiajin. The fate of the owner of the Eye of Nothingness had long been determined. He would be with everyone and face the future calamity together. The inner demons seem to have sensed your existence. Long Chen smiled. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Because before they left, the inner demons glanced in their direction. You should be able to sense the inner demon's location now. Let's go and take a look. Let's find a chance to meet them, Dong Zhengyang said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. He and the inner demons could sense each other. Therefore, no matter where the inner demons went, he would be able to find them. On the Dragon God Mountain, Neptune headed straight for this place. You're finally back. The Dragon God, who was sitting alone in the pavilion, sensed Neptune's arrival and immediately stood up to welcome him. What's going on with you? You fell into the hands of this Qin Feiyang again. Neptune furrowed his eyebrows. How would I know? Now, I'm a spy in the eyes of the various races, especially the sea race. When they see me as an enemy. The dragon god looked irritated. Don't worry. I believe you. Neptune consoled him. What's the use of you believing me? What I need is the trust of the various races. The dragon god sighed. I'm afraid it's very difficult to make everyone believe me now. Unless Qin Feiyang personally admits that this matter has nothing to do with you. But it's easier said than done to make him admit it personally. He's framed you time and time again. His goal is to sow discord between the various races. Actually, I've already guessed how he found out about me going to the Central Dynasty. I think it must be Mu Qing's all-seeing eye. Neptune said in a low voice. Yes. How could I have forgotten about this? The dragon god slapped his head. It must be all-seeing eye. Little did they know that this was just their wishful thinking. They also didn't know that when they were discussing this matter, Qin Feiyong and the others were standing at the side. Although we know it's all-seeing eye, the people below won't believe it. Just bear with it for now. This time, Yu Lao from the Central Dynasty personally led people to help us. I think with his strength, he must have a way to resolve this. Neptune said. Yu Lao. The dragon god's gaze trembled. Then I have to quickly pay him a visit. It's better if you don't go to the Sea God Island. Wait for Yu Lao to rest for 2 days. I'll bring him to your dragon god mountain, and we'll have a discussion there. Neptune said. What? I don't even have the qualifications to step into the Sea God Island now. The dragon god was furious. No. Right now, the people below hate you to the bone. If you go to the Sea God Island now, they will definitely speak rudely to you. Can you bear such humiliation? So, I'm doing this for your own good. Neptune comforted him. All right. The dragon god sighed helplessly. A trace of killing intent suddenly appeared in his eyes. He said resentfully, It's all Qin Feiyong's fault. Sooner or later, I will skin them alive. West Continent, human race. A huge city was located on a plain in the north. There were more than 10 million people in the city. Outside the city, on a mountain peak, 3 silhouettes appeared without a sound. It was Qin Feiyong and the other 2. Under Qin Feiyong's perception, the inner demons were in this city. But now the cities in the West Continent were heavily guarded. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to sneak in without being noticed. Don't worry. The inner demons should be able to sense that you are outside the city now, so they may take the initiative to look for you. Long Chun comforted him. He could understand Qin Feiyong's mood at this moment, but some things couldn't be rushed. However, after a while, the inner demons still didn't come out of the city. Under Qin Feiyong's perception, the inner demons had been staying somewhere in the city. No, I have to enter the city. Qin Feiyong took out an illusory appearance pill and prepared to change his appearance. Wait a minute. Long Chun stopped Qin Feiyong and said with a smile, Send a message to the human race's supreme being first. What's wrong? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. You will know when the time comes. Long Chun smiled. All right. Qin Feiyong glanced around. Seeing that there was no one around, he took out a voice transmission stone. Buzz. Soon, the phantom of the human race's supreme being appeared. Have you also received the news that the people of the Central Dynasty have arrived? The human race's supreme being looked at the 3 of them and asked. We didn't receive the news. We saw it with our own eyes. Long Chun smiled slightly. What? You are now on the Sea God Island? The human race's supreme being was shocked. These little fellows are too daring, aren't they? We were before, but not now. Well, senior, we are now in a bit of trouble and need your help. Long Chun smiled. You will also encounter trouble? The human race's supreme being was very surprised. Hearing this, Long Chun couldn't help but smile bitterly. We are also mortals, and the omnipotent ones are gods. The human race's supreme being laughed. Tell me, what do you want me to help you with? Give us an enforcer's identity token. This way, we won't have to be checked when we go in and out of the major cities. Long Chun smiled. Qin Feiyong and Dong Zhengyang looked at each other. So this was the reason why they were looking for the human race's supreme being. Indeed, if they disguised themselves as Mount Supreme's enforcers, they would indeed be able to freely enter and exit the major cities. But the human race's supreme being was a bit hesitant. Don't worry. If our identities are still exposed in the end, we will announce to the public that we were the ones who killed your Mount Supreme's enforcers and impersonated them. We won't implicate you. Long Chun knew the human race's supreme being's concerns and promised. If that's the case, then there won't be a problem. Tell me the location. I will personally deliver it to you. The human race's supreme being smiled. He could only make this trip personally, because his subordinates still didn't know that he had formed an alliance with Qin Feiyong. And because of the spy incident, He didn't dare to easily trust anyone around him. Soon, the human race's supreme being came to the mountain peak and gave the three of them a few enforcers' tokens. Moreover, he also gave them a few sets of enforcers' clothes. The enforcers of Mount Supreme would usually wear the same clothes when carrying out missions. Are you planning to enter this city? The human race's supreme being looked at the city in front of him and asked. Yes. The three of them nodded. What are you going to do in the city? If we are really discovered, it will be quite difficult for me, because at that time, I will have to send people to kill you. The human race's supreme being frowned. Long Chun glanced at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, There's something important. Seeing that Long Chun didn't say anything, the human race's supreme being said helplessly, All right, I won't ask anymore. Be careful. Okay. Long Chun nodded. The human race's supreme being opened the space-time tunnel and left. Qin Feiyang and the other two quickly changed their clothes and changed their appearances. They wore the tokens on their waists and looked at each other. Clothes make the man, and saddles make the horse. Wearing the enforcer's uniform, they really did look like enforcers. Then, the three of them soared into the sky and flew towards the city in a grand manner. However, although they were disguised as enforcers now, they couldn't pass through the city gate, because the city gate had heaven's eye stones. Once they entered the city gate, their identities would be exposed immediately. Therefore, they had to fly directly into the city from above the city wall. The three of you, stop. But when they entered the sky above the city wall, the guard guarding the city gate immediately shouted. But when he raised his head and saw the three's clothes and the tokens on their waists, his expression changed. What's the matter? Qin Feiyang stopped and stared at the guards below. His expression was somewhat gloomy and stern. No. I thought someone was going to barge into the city. The guard quickly waved his hand. His eyes filled with fear. The enforcers of Mount Supreme had the power to kill and couldn't be offended. Chapter 4166. All right, guard the city gate well. Don't let anyone suspicious go, Qin Feiyang said coldly, then turned around and rushed into the city without looking back. That was close. Watching the three of them leave, the guard patted his chest with lingering fear. He had no doubt about the identity of the three. Entering the city, the three of them landed on the street, swaggered along the street, and walked into a restaurant. When the waiter of the restaurant saw the three of them, he immediately went up to them and said in fear, Is there anything important for you to visit our restaurant? Qin Feiyang glanced around the hall. Soon, he saw the inner demons and Lu Jiajin in a corner. The excitement in his heart couldn't be any greater. At the same time, Long Chun also glanced at the inner demons, then looked at the waiter and said with a smile, Don't be nervous, we're just here to drink. I see. The waiter breathed a sigh of relief and said with a flattering smile, There's a private room upstairs. I'll arrange it right away. No need. I think it's over there. Long Qian pointed to the table next to the inner demons. The waiter was stunned and quickly said, There are too many people in the hall. It's too noisy. I'm afraid to disturb the three of you. But before he finished speaking, Qin Feiyang stared at him directly. Okay. The waiter suddenly panicked and quickly nodded. I'll clean it up right away. After saying that, he ran over to wipe the table. Qin Feiyang and the other two also walked over. In the hall, it was indeed noisy because there were more than a dozen tables of guests. But as they sat at the table, it immediately quieted down. Everyone's eyes were filled with fear. But the two masked young men next to them seemed not to see it and continued to drink. After a while, the waiter came over with good wine and dishes. After the waiter left, Qin Feiyang and the other two also drank as if nothing had happened. It seemed that they were waiting for the other party to speak first. Time passed by little. Qin Feiyang finally couldn't help but send a voice transmission. Is it you? His voice was a little trembling. The two masked youths were stunned. They turned to look at Qin Feiyang and asked suspiciously, Brother, are you talking to us? This reaction caused Qin Feiyang to be rather surprised. If he could sense the inner demons, it was impossible for the inner demons not to sense him. No matter how he changed his appearance, they should know it was him. But now, His tone was completely that of a stranger. Don't worry. Let me talk to them first. Long Chun comforted Qin Feiyang, because he knew that Qin Feiyang must be a bit confused at this moment. As for the inner demons, they came from the Central Dynasty, so they didn't know anything about them. Therefore, it was better to be vigilant. Hence, Long Chun picked up his wine glass, stood up and walked to the opposite side of the inner demons. He smiled and said, "Gentlemen, may I sit down?" "You are?" The black-clothed youth raised his head and looked at him in confusion. This voice, Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. This was his big cousin's voice. Long Chun pointed to the token on his waist and smiled. "I am the enforcer of Mount Supreme." "Enforcer?" The two looked at the token. The black-haired youth smiled and said, "What's the matter?" "Nothing big. I just feel that the two of you are a bit familiar." Long Chun smiled. "We are all wearing masks, and you still feel that we are familiar? I really admire your eyesight," the blood-clothed youth said with a smile. At this moment, Qin Feiyang's arm trembled again, and the wine in the cup spilled out. Because this voice was the voice of the inner demons, there was no mistake. Whether it was the inner demons or his big cousin, their voices didn't change much from before. Dong Zhengyang was also secretly paying attention to the two. His eyes flickered, because he recognized the two's voices. Long Chun glanced at the inner demons and chuckled. "To be honest, I just feel that the masks on your faces are a bit familiar." "The masks are a bit familiar?" Hearing Long Chun's words, the others in the hall couldn't help but look at the inner demons. "Don't say. It really does seem a bit familiar. The two of you, Qin Feiyang and his group, are currently wreaking havoc in our divine kingdom, and the two of you are wearing masks, which makes you seem a bit mysterious. So please cooperate with the inspection." Long Chun spoke again. The smile on his face disappeared, and his eyes were slightly cold. "Cooperate with the inspection? You are just an enforcer. Do you have the right? Look at what this is." The blood-clothed youth smiled in disdain. He took out a token and slammed it on the table. "Sea God token." The hall suddenly became noisy. Their eyes were filled with respect. To be able to have the Sea God token, he was no ordinary person. Wait, I remember. They seemed to be the two mysterious young men who appeared out of nowhere and suppressed the geniuses of various clans. Suddenly, someone exclaimed, "What? They are the mysterious young men who suppressed the geniuses of various clans?" Qin Feiyang and Dong Zhengyang looked at each other, their eyes full of disbelief. So, the inner demons and Lu Jiajin had already entered the divine kingdom 1,000 years ago? Long Chun pretended to recall for a moment. Suddenly, a look of realization appeared on his face. He looked at the two of them and said, "I was wondering why they looked a bit familiar. It turns out to be you. Now, do you still doubt our identity?" The blood-clothed youth laughed. "I wouldn't dare. However, the origins of the two of you are truly a bit surprising. You are actually from the Sea Tribe." Long Chun smiled. "Who told you that we are from the Sea Tribe?" The inner demons looked at Long Chun with interest. "If you are not from the Sea Tribe, how can you have the Sea God token?" Long Chun asked back. "If you have the Sea God token, you must be from the Sea Tribe? Your logic is a bit ridiculous." The inner demons pursed his lips with a hint of mockery. "Where are those two from? What is their relationship with the Sea Tribe?" Long Chun was curious. "Where are we from?" The two of them looked at each other. The inner demon shook his head and sneered. "Your question is really quite stupid. Of course, we are from the human clan like you. As for our relationship with the Sea Tribe, it is a long story. We don't need to report to you. If there is nothing else, don't disturb us from drinking." "Okay, sorry to disturb you." Long Chun smiled apologetically and returned to Qin Feiyang's side. He asked through voice transmission, "Did you notice anything strange from them?" Qin Feiyang and Dong Zhengyang pondered. Suddenly, light flashed in their eyes. There were hints. The first hint was about their origins. The inner demon said that they were from the human clan like them. This same did not refer to the West Continent, nor the human clan of the Divine Kingdom. It was a hint that they came from the same place. That was the Great Qin. The second hint was when Long Chun asked them what their relationship with the Sea Tribe was. The inner demon's answer was complicated. This was a long story, but it contained a deep meaning. What he meant was that he had his own difficulties. In other words, the inner demons admitted their identity through this hint, and they couldn't admit it now because they had other difficulties. It seems that Brother Qin hasn't lost his mind. Long Chen laughed secretly. Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. His mind was indeed a little chaotic before, but now he had calmed down. Since the inner demons and big cousin were unwilling to admit it now, he would wait and see. Maybe they really had some difficulties. At this time, two middle-aged men walked in, sat next to them, and shouted, "Waiter, 2 pots of wine." "Okay." The waiter nodded and walked over quickly with 2 pots of wine. The two men raised their heads and drank half of the wine in one gulp. One of them put down the wine pot and shook his head. Qin Feiyang and his group have really stirred up trouble in the Divine Kingdom. Huh. Hearing this, everyone was stunned and turned to look at the two men. "Brother, what do you mean?" Long Chen also looked at the two men curiously. "Law enforcers." The two middle-aged men were stunned. They turned to look at Qin Feiyang and the other two, and their faces suddenly changed. "Don't be nervous." Long Chen waved his hand and smiled. He asked, "From what you said just now, did Qin Feiyang and his group make a big noise again?" "No, they didn't. There's news that the people of the Central Dynasty are here." The middle-aged man smiled obsequiously. The Central Dynasty. Everyone's eyes trembled. That's right. I heard that the Central Dynasty is specifically targeting Qin Feiyang and his group this time. And there's another news. Neptune personally said that he wants Qin Feiyang to go to the East Continent for a talk. The two middle-aged men said one after another. Neptune wants Qin Feiyang to go to the East Continent for a talk? Everyone was stunned. What did that mean? It's obvious. Neptune wants to negotiate with Qin Feiyang to rescue the sea gods and millions of people. Tell me the truth. I really admire the courage of Qin Feiyang and his group to go against these big shots. The two middle-aged men shook their heads and sighed. Yeah. First, it was Mount Supreme of the human race, then the divine island of the gods, then the dragon god mountain of the beasts, and now the sea god island of the oceanic race. And each time, they can inflict heavy losses on the major races. The most important thing is that they always manage to escape. I really don't know how they do it. People immediately began to talk with disbelief on their faces. They won't be arrogant for long. All of a sudden, the inner demons laughed and got up to pay the bill. Then he left with Lu Jiajin without looking back. Everyone was stunned as they looked at the backs of the two people. They disappeared for so long and now they suddenly reappeared. Is it because of Qin Feiyang and his group? I'm afraid so. After all, they are the heavenly talents of the Divine Kingdom. As heavenly talents, they must be unconvinced when they meet arrogant people like Qin Feiyang. At the same time, Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other, got up to pay the bill and left. After the three of them left, the people in the restaurant were no longer restrained and their discussions became more unscrupulous. And the people on the street were also talking about it. Moreover, soon, another piece of news spread like crazy. A group of people appeared out of thin air in the 4 great continents and said that they wanted to challenge Qin Feiyang and his group. Qin Feiyang and the other two walked on the street and listened silently for a while. Then they opened a space-time passage and returned to the back mountain of the village. At this moment, in front of the wooden building, an old man was looking at the wooden building suspiciously. Why was there a time array here? Did he go to the wrong place? But no. This was indeed his home. This old man was Jijio. After returning from the Sea God Island, a group of old men gathered together to discuss something. But suddenly, they found that Dong Jingyang had disappeared. So Jijio came to the back mountain to take a look. As soon as he entered the tea garden, he sensed the aura of a time array. He thought that Dong Jingyang was in the house, but when he entered the house, there was no trace of Dong Jingyang at all. Dong Jingyang had disappeared. There was another time array here. What was going on? Whoosh. However, when Qin Feiyang and the other two came together and appeared on the balcony on the 2nd floor together, Jiju knew what was going on, and he immediately put on a defensive posture. Chapter 4167. Master Jiu? As soon as Qin Feiyang appeared and saw Lord Jiu standing in front of the wooden building, a smile immediately appeared on his face. He asked, even though he already knew the answer, "You've returned from the Sea God's Island? Why didn't you inform us in advance? We could have gone to welcome you." One who is unaccountably solicitous is hiding evil intentions. Master Jiu snorted coldly, then turned around and scanned the tea garden. "Do you not trust us that much?" Qin Feiyang said with grievance. "Don't count me and Long Chun in. The old master doesn't trust you," Dong Zhengyang reminded. The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. A moment later, Master Jiu heaved a sigh of relief. None of the tea trees in the tea garden were missing. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "What are you doing here?" "This." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes and pulled Long Chun with a smile. "Let me introduce you. This is my good brother, Long Chun, and also Long Qin's elder brother." Master Jiu looked at Long Chun. "Hello, senior." Long Chun smiled slightly and said politely, "You're welcome." Master Jiu's expression eased a lot, and he said with a smile, "Your name is like thunder to this old man's ears." "No, no." Long Chun waved his hand modestly. "Don't be modest. In today's world, only your God's domain can really restrain the 3,000 incarnations. You don't know yet, do you? Now, as long as the young people in our clan mention you, they will change their expression. They all regard you as the biggest enemy of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan." Master Jiju chuckled. "Indeed. At present, the only method that could really restrain the 3,000 incarnations was Long Qin's God's domain. As for the Dragon God and Neptune, although their origin energy could restrain the 3,000 incarnations, in a sense, it couldn't be considered a restraint." Hearing this, Long Chun was quite embarrassed. "Tell me the truth. When I first heard about the God's domain, I was also shocked. How could someone activate such a fighting soul? Fortunately, we are not enemies now," Jiju said with a smile. "It's all because of your righteousness that we were able to turn enemies into friends." These words were not false at all. If it weren't for the decisiveness of this group of elders, the monarch would probably still be hesitating. Jiju was taken aback. He shook his head and said with a smile, "Young man, you really know how to talk." "It's the truth." Long Chin's flattery made Jiju very happy. He then asked, "Do you know the current situation of the Divine Sea Island?" "I know." Qin Feiyang nodded. "You know?" Master Jiju was taken aback. He had received the news so quickly? "Everyone is talking about it now. Someone from the Central Dynasty has also issued a challenge to me. I really don't understand. Don't these people know how to keep a low profile?" Qin Feiyang shook his head. "Even you know how to keep a low profile?" Jiju was speechless. He really wanted to ask if Jiju had ever kept a low profile after coming to the Divine Kingdom. "I was forced by the situation. If the situation allows, I don't want to show my face at all," Qin Feiyang said helplessly. Yes. You were forced by us." Jiju rolled his eyes and asked, "So, what are you going to do now?" "Do you plan to?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and shook his head. "I don't have any plans. Let them be if they want to clamor." "What about the sea gods and the millions of Oceanids?" Jiju asked. "Well, let's talk about it after I come out of seclusion." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. He was not in a hurry to deal with this matter at all. "You want to go into seclusion?" Jiju looked at him suspiciously. Not only had this kid comprehended the ultimate profundity of the law of life and death, but he had also mastered 2 wills of the heavenly Tao. Did he still need to go into seclusion? Yes. How can you make yourself stronger if you don't go into seclusion? Qin Feiyang chuckled. That makes sense. But now that your strength has reached the peak, what are you going to cultivate in seclusion? Jiju was puzzled. You can comprehend other laws. Our plan is to master the ultimate mysteries of all the laws in the world, Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Jiju was stunned. This dream was really ambitious. However, it was easier said than done. Thinking back to his life, after countless years, he had only comprehended these ultimate mysteries of the strongest laws. But we'll stay here when we go into seclusion. Don't drive us away. Qin Feiyong bared his teeth. What? You want to go into seclusion with me? Jijio immediately became vigilant. He was definitely up to no good. You don't welcome us? Qin Feiyong asked. Of course, you don't welcome us. Jiju snorted coldly. I can't wait for you to get lost now, so that you don't have to worry about me all day. I'm so sad. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and sighed. Originally, I wanted to stay here and take good care of you. But now that you said that, Stop, stop. Jiju couldn't stand it anymore and said with a dark face, Don't put on a sad show with me here. Just tell me, what's your purpose? No purpose. Really? Let's talk about it later. You've already given me dozens of tea trees. If I still have other thoughts, am I still human? Qin Feiyong smiled flatteringly. Stop, stop, stop. Don't be so glib with me. Jiju rubbed his forehead. When he thought of those dozens of tea trees, he couldn't help but feel distressed. But now, he actually said that he was the one who gave them to him? Please calm down. Anger hurts your liver. Qin Feiyong hurriedly stepped forward and patted Jiju's back gently. It hurts my liver because you're angry. Jiju glared at him and said helplessly, Okay, I can let you stay, but I'll say the ugly words first. Don't have any other thoughts? Don't worry, don't worry. We'll definitely behave. Qin Feiyong immediately patted his chest and promised, I believe in Dong Xingyang and Long Qin's rules, but you? I'll give you 2 words, haha. Jiju's face was full of disdain. Qin Feiyong smiled awkwardly. This great-grandfather of his was really quite displeased with him now. Jiju sighed helplessly. He could only be considered unlucky to have met this kid. Then, he looked at Dong Xingyang and asked, Have you integrated the inheritance I gave you? Yes. Dong Xingyang nodded. Then wait a moment. I'll go to Big Brother and get another inheritance. After saying that, Jiju was ready to go down the mountain. Don't. Thank you for your kindness, Jiju, but now, I don't need it anymore. You'd better keep it for yourselves and give it to the descendants who will need it in the future. Dong Xingyang said. What do you mean? Jiju was stunned and looked at him suspiciously. Dong Xingyang and Qin Feiyong looked at each other and smiled. Brother Qin has already given me all the ultimate mysteries. What? Jiju looked at the 2 of them in shock. All the ultimate mysteries? Did he hear it wrong? Yes. The various supreme laws and the various ordinary laws are all present, Yifutian said. Dong Xingyang nodded. Hearing this, Jiju took a deep breath and looked at Qin Feiyong. Where did you get so many inheritances? Well, if you give me dozens of tea trees, I'll tell you. Qin Feiyong chuckled. Get lost. Jiju's face immediately darkened. Sure enough, he was still coveting his tea garden. No, he couldn't let a wolf into his house. Don't misunderstand. I'm just joking. Qin Feiyong noticed that something was wrong with Jiju's eyes. He immediately smiled flatteringly and said, It's all thanks to Long Chun, but this matter has to be kept a secret for the time being. Jiju looked at Long Chun again. Long Chun just smiled mysteriously. Okay, I won't ask. Jiju glanced at the 2 of them and shook his head. Since you're going to stay here, let's go down and say hello to everyone first. It just so happens that your other great-grandfathers and great-grandmothers are also very interested in Long Chen. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. Then, the 3 of them followed Jiju and flew down the mountain. Seeing Qin Feiyong coming down from the back mountain, Boss Ji and the other elders couldn't help but be stunned. When they introduced Long Chun, the group of elders also praised him. The 4 great continents. It was quite lively during this period of time. Firstly, it was because of the grudge between Qin Feiyong and the Sea Tribe. Secondly, it was because of the 10 great prodigies from the Central Dynasty. Not only did these prodigies issue a challenge to Qin Feiyong, but they also entered the clans of the various races in a high-profile manner. Mount Supreme. That morning, 2 figures descended in the sky. Who is it? The 10 sovereigns guarding Mount Supreme immediately rushed into the sky. When they saw who it was, a trace of suspicion appeared on their faces. They were 2 young men wearing masks. One had black hair like a waterfall, and the other had red hair. It was the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Lu Jiajin crossed his arms and remained silent. The inner demons glanced at the 10 sovereigns and laughed. Lord Sovereigns, how many years has it been? You don't remember us? It's you. The 10 sovereigns took a closer look and their pupils immediately shrank. They immediately recalled the scene from 1,000 years ago. Back then, just like today, the two of them directly charged into Mount Supreme and swept through all the prodigies there. It seems that the sovereigns have a good memory. I wonder if the prodigies of Mount Supreme have improved after all these years? The inner demons looked down at the mountains and rivers below, a bloody light flashing in his eyes. The 10 sovereigns looked at each other and frowned. Are they here to challenge the prodigies of Mount Supreme again? The inner demons smirked and shouted, "Those who lost to us before, don't hide in your cave abodes. Come out quickly." Bastard, what are you so arrogant for? Before he finished, a group of young men and women angrily rushed into the sky along with a few angry shouts. The blue-haired young man, Wang Feng, the red-clothed woman, Luo Dan, and the black-clothed young man, Lu Sheng. These people who lost to Qin Feiyang and the others were also among them. The inner demons looked at them one by one and was slightly stunned. He said suspiciously, "I remember there's someone called Zhao Hong, right? Why don't I see him? Could it be that he's scared out of his wits and doesn't dare to come out?" When the group heard this, their faces were filled with anger, especially the 10 sovereigns. Killing intent flowed out from their eyes. However, this killing intent wasn't targeted at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. It was targeted at Qin Feiyang and Mu Qing. The rumors can't be true, right? Zhao Hong was killed by Mu Qing's people? The inner demons asked. Remaining 2 chapters, released before 11 o'clock? Chapter 4168. Why did he have to rub salt into their wounds? Back then, Zhao Hong was killed by Mu Qing with the flame magic sword, and it happened at Mount Supreme. After that, many creatures in the West continent talked about them behind their backs. So, they didn't want to think about it because it was humiliating. But now, the inner demons tore open their wounds mercilessly, so they were naturally furious. It's true. TSK, TSK, TSK. How embarrassing. Although this Zhao Hong is indeed trash, he managed to last 2 rounds against me back then. Never would I have thought that he would actually die at the hands of trash like Mu Qing. The inner demon snickered. How dare you? Wang Feng was furious. He took a step forward and charged into the sky. The laws of time, the laws of gold, and the laws of earth were activated. The inner demons paused for a moment and said in surprise, "I remember that you mastered these 3 ultimate mysteries back then. Why are you still using the same 3 ultimate mysteries? Then let me see how strong you have become." Wang Feng was furious. The 3 ultimate mysteries attacked crazily. The inner demon smiled faintly, the disdain between her brows vividly displayed. Boom! A force of death and a force of destruction burst out with a roar. 2 ultimate laws instantly appeared out of thin air and crushed down on Yi Qingyu like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Seeing this, the 10 sovereigns quickly activated their laws and formed a barrier to isolate the battlefield. Otherwise, Mount Supreme would be razed to the ground again. At the same time, they were also looking forward to it. How strong were these 2 mysterious young men now? Ordinary people didn't know, but as the sovereigns of Mount Supreme, they knew about the inner demons. These years, the reason why they disappeared was because they went to the Central Dynasty. Even the sovereigns of the human race didn't dare to enter the Central Dynasty without permission, let alone the sovereigns. The 2 of them had been in the Central Dynasty for so many years, so they should be even more terrifying than before. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the 5 ultimate mysteries clashed. There was no suspense. Wang Feng's 3 ultimates were completely crushed by Yi Shiwen's attack. This was because even though he had 3 ultimate profound meanings, he only had 1 ultimate profound meaning. As for the inner demons, the 2 ultimate profound meanings were both ultimate laws. With Wang Feng's 1 supreme law and 2 ordinary laws, how could he block his 2 supreme laws? Puff! Wang Feng immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. However, His expression became more and more gloomy. Back then, I was indeed no match for you. But now, killing you is like killing a dog. As he laughed, a terrifying death energy surged out of Wang Feng's body like a tide. Rumble. The 18 levels of hell instantly appeared in the sky, emitting a monstrous aura. Not bad. I've already comprehended the ultimate profundity of the laws of death. The inner demons cackled. When he invaded the sky cloud realm, Wang Feng had yet to comprehend the ultimate profundity of the laws of death. It could be seen that he had grown quite quickly over the years. Kneel down and accept your death, Wang Feng sneered. The laws of time, earth, and metal were activated once again. The four ultimate profound meanings instantly carried a destructive aura as they charged toward the inner demons. Sigh. The inner demons shook his head and sighed. His gaze suddenly turned cold as he said domineeringly, "You want me to kneel down and accept my death? Do you have the qualifications?" Rumble. His body shook. The laws of time and space emerged. In the sky, a river of stars appeared. Countless stars flickered, and each star was like a world, exuding a vast aura. This is, Wang Feng's gaze trembled. The laws of time and space, the ultimate profundity. Trash, you're still trash. The inner demons cackled. The laws of death and destruction appeared once again. The three ultimate profound meanings shattered the sky and charged toward Wang Feng. With a loud bang, Wang Feng's four ultimate profound meanings were once again crushed. Following that, the inner demon's ultimate profound meaning ruthlessly charged toward Wang Feng. Wang Feng's gaze trembled. All these years, he had worked hard enough, especially when he was defeated by Qin Feiyang and the others in the Tianyun realm. He had been cultivating in seclusion, hoping that one day he would be able to wash away his shame. But unexpectedly, he was still not a match for this person. In the nick of time, Luo Dan and Lu Sheng rushed into the barrier and stood in front of Wang Feng. Numerous ultimate profound meanings appeared. Right now, both of them had also grasped two ultimate profound meanings. Their strength had also improved a lot. Moreover, there were also two ordinary laws of time and space. Adding them together, that was 8 ultimate profound meanings. People who could master 4 ultimate profound meanings, even if 2 of them were ordinary laws, were already strong enough. In the Tianyun realm, they would be giants who dominated a region. Therefore, one could not underestimate these geniuses of the divine kingdom just because Qin Feiyang and the others were powerful. It was no exaggeration to say that. Wang Feng and the other 2 were on par with giants like the Feather Emperor, the Blood Ancestor, the Dragon King, Feng Ho, and the Kirin Lord. 8 ultimate profound meanings swept out. The 3 ultimate profound meanings of the inner demon's 3 ultimate profound meanings shattered. The corner of his mouth, a stream of blood flowed out. "Since you can't fight me one-on-one, you want to gang up? All right, I'll fulfill your wish. If you're not convinced, come at me together." The inner demons glanced at the other geniuses below and laughed. Arrogant. Wait until you defeat Wang Feng, Luo Dan, and Lu Sheng first. The geniuses below sneered. Just these 3 trash? Don't joke around. Killing them is as easy as crushing an ant. The inner demons laughed wildly. Rumble. Inside his body, wisps of terrifying and despairing auras burst out from the ground. Destruction law, space-time law, death law after that. A time law and a karma law surged out. Boom. In just an instant, the ultimate profound meanings of the 5 ultimate profound meanings appeared in the sky. The terrifying aura shook the world. What? The ultimate profundity of the 5 supreme laws? Wang Feng and his crew, the geniuses, and the 10 martial highnesses were dumbfounded. This was too strong. Are you scared already? Trash like you should be honored to be able to make me use 1% of my strength. The inner demon smiled coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, the law of devour roared out again. What? The ultimate profound of the 6 supreme laws. Doesn't that mean he has already grasped the will of the heavenly Tao? At this moment, all the disciples on Mount Supreme felt as if they had been struck by lightning, and their minds rumbled. The will of the heavenly Tao. This was an existence comparable to the 10 great venerables. And the will of the heavenly Tao was also the symbol of the strongest, because mastering the will of the heavenly path was equivalent to standing at the top of the pyramid of the divine kingdom. No, to an ordinary person, the will of the heavenly Tao was standing at the peak of the cultivation path. In the meantime, the hearts of the 10 martial highnesses were filled with great astonishment. They remembered that when this person appeared 1,000 years ago, he had only mastered 2 ultimate profundities of the supreme laws. How could he have comprehended 4 ultimate profundities in a mere 1,000 years? Even with the time array, he couldn't have done it. Could it be that this person was hiding his strength back then? Boom. It was another scene of destruction. In the blink of an eye, Wang Feng and his crew were all severely injured and fell to the ground. The other geniuses below still had the courage to clamor before, but after seeing the will of the heavenly Tao, they were only left with fear. I'm flattering you by calling you trash. The inner demon scanned the crowd with a look of disdain. Then, he smashed the bodies of a group of geniuses with a palm, and blood dyed the sky red. Wang Feng and his crew's divine souls escaped from the barrier, and their faces were filled with fear. But the inner demons didn't look at them again. It was as if they weren't qualified for him to look at them again. He stepped in front of the barrier, and a divine light flashed from his fingertip, and the barrier was shattered on the spot. The 10 martial highnesses were stunned. What kind of technique was this? It actually broke the barrier that they set up together in an instant. Human geniuses? What a joke. The inner demon smiled contemptuously, opened a space-time tunnel, and left without looking back. Lu Jiajin didn't say a word. After the battle ended, he just smiled faintly, turned around, and entered the tunnel, leaving with the inner demons. So powerful. Among the younger generation of the divine kingdom, I'm afraid he's the first one to master the will of the heavenly Tao. Maybe. Their appearance isn't a bad thing, the great venerable whispered. What do you mean? The other 9 martial highnesses looked at him in confusion, because the 2 of them should be able to fight against people like Qin Feiyang. The great venerable's eyes flashed. Hearing this, the 9 martial highnesses couldn't help but be moved. That's right. Qin Feiyang and the others all mastered the will of the heavenly Tao, not to mention the younger generation of the divine kingdom. Even the older generation like them couldn't compete with them. Maybe the 2 mysterious young men could break this situation. The news of the inner demons coming to Mount Supreme and defeating the human race's prodigies quickly spread across the 4 continents. Any living being who learned of this was shocked to the extreme. Even the king and the divine king were shocked when they received the message from the human race's sovereign. They didn't expect it. In just 1,000 years, the 2 mysterious young men had become so powerful. The next day, God Race's sacred land, God's Island, 2 figures descended on the God's Island. It was the inner demons and Lu Jiajin again. With their arrival, the God's Island immediately fell into chaos. What is the meaning of this? The divine king personally appeared and asked the 2. Back then, it was the same situation. After defeating the prodigies of Mount Supreme, they came to the God's Island the next day. Lord Divine King, aren't you asking the obvious? The inner demons laughed. The divine king suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "There's no need to fight anymore. The prodigies of the God race are no match for you." I didn't expect Lord Divine King to be so straightforward. However, it can be seen that the prodigies of the God race are no different from the prodigies of Mount Supreme. They're all a bunch of trash. The inner demons laughed and was about to turn and leave. Who are you calling trash? Suddenly, an angry roar sounded, and a group of young men ran out. Among them were Jiang Xing and Jiang Chun. Don't mess around. The divine king's expression changed and immediately shouted. Although he was extremely unhappy with the inner demon's arrogant attitude, there was nothing he could do. No one in the younger generation of the God race could compete with them. Even if he was angry, he could only endure it. Moreover, this place was someone from the Central Dynasty. All the more he couldn't provoke them. They were evenly matched with the inner demons. This gave the group of Sky Prides a glimmer of hope to defeat the inner demons. Jiang Qin and Jiang Xing, in particular, were brimming with killing intent. Haha, the mark of the God Clan is indeed extraordinary. However, it's still inferior to the will of the heavenly Tao. The inner demons cackled. Xiao Qin activated the instant time and landed beside Jiang Qin. Then, he sent a palm strike at Jiang Qin's head. Ah! Accompanied by a painful scream, Jiang Qin's head shattered on the spot. His soul fled in terror. In less than a few breaths, the other Sky Prides were also defeated one after another. Their bodies were all destroyed. Their souls escaped from their bodies and flew towards the Divine King in terror. Don't panic. We agreed to stop at a certain point. I won't harm your lives. The inner demons laughed wantonly. The Divine King clenched his fists, suppressing the anger in his heart, and said, "Since you are so powerful, then I will rely on you to defeat Qin Feiyang and the others in the future." Qin Feiyang. The inner demon's expression changed slightly, but it instantly returned to normal. He cackled, "Don't worry, I will not disappoint Lord Divine King's expectations." Swish. However, at this moment, two purple figures descended from the sky. "Come and defeat us first." They were Ryuko and Jishaoi. The Divine King was taken aback. Why would these two take the initiative to come to the island and challenge this mysterious youth? The inner demons also looked surprised. "Anyway, you will go to the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan to challenge us tomorrow, so we might as well take the initiative to find you," Ryuko said proudly. "Huh, you know us quite well." The inner demons laughed. "Laugh all you want. You will cry later." Ryuko sneered. "So confident? But why did I hear that you can't even defeat Qin Feiyang? No, you can't even defeat Long Chun of the Sky Cloud Realm?" The inner demons looked at him mockingly. When Ryuko heard this, his face darkened. This matter was also the shame of his life. Whenever he thought of this matter, he couldn't help but go crazy. "Don't be provoked by him," Ji Shaoi reminded. "Don't worry. I am not that weak." Long Chun smiled ferociously. He activated his 3,000 incarnations and said coldly, "So what if you have the will of the heavenly Tao? In front of the 3,000 incarnations of my Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan, you are just an ant." The inner demons frowned and said, "I remember when I fought with you back then, you didn't inherit the 3,000 incarnations, right? That's why I was defeated by you back then. And now, I have 3,000 incarnations, and I am no longer someone you can provoke. Today, I will wash away my shame." Ryuko smiled sinisterly. Ultimate profound meanings appeared one after another. The law of cause and effect, the law of destruction, and the law of time. Back then, when he invaded the Sky Cloud Realm, his law of time was only at the level of the ultimate profound meaning. It could be seen. He had worked very hard these years. 3 ultimate profound meanings of the strongest law, plus 3,000 incarnations, that was a total of 9,000 ultimate profound meanings. With 9,000 ultimate profound meanings of the strongest law, the will of the heavenly Tao really couldn't contend with it. In short, to fight against 3,000 incarnations, unless you also had 3,000 incarnations, Long Chin's domain of divinity, or the power of origin of the divine kingdom, no matter how strong you were, you couldn't be a match for 3,000 incarnations. The Divine King raised his eyebrows and said in a deep voice, "Go to the galaxy." 9,000 ultimate profound meanings were equivalent to 9,000 sovereign divine weapons. Even the barrier she personally set up on the island couldn't resist such divine power. "Don't run if you have the guts." Ryuko glanced at the Divine King, stared at the inner demons, and smiled coldly. Then he took Ji Shaoi and the 3,000 incarnations and rushed toward the galaxy without looking back. Run? The word run will never exist in my dictionary. The inner demons muttered and took a step into the sky. A monstrous, murderous aura roared out, and the void around him instantly turned into a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Even the Divine King couldn't help but be shocked by such a murderous aura. How many massacres did he have to go through? How much blood did his hands have to be stained with to create such a terrifying, murderous aura? 3,000 incarnations. It's still worth looking forward to. Lu Jiajin smiled faintly and also stepped into the galaxy. Worth looking forward to? The Divine King was in disbelief when he heard this. These words were too arrogant. The power of 3,000 incarnations was obvious to all. Even she, the Divine King, was afraid of them. But in this person's eyes, it was only worth looking forward to? Fine. I want to see what other abilities you have besides the will of the heavenly Tao. Behave yourselves. After warning Jiang Qian and the others, the Divine King also stepped into the galaxy without looking back. Chapter 4170. Star River. Ryuko and Jishaoi were the first to enter the Star River. When the inner demons stepped into the Star River, Ryuko sneered, "Don't say I didn't give you a chance. Now, I'll give you some time to prepare." The inner demons was slightly taken aback. "You're so confident that you can defeat me? What do you think? Take a good look at the 3,000 incarnations behind me. They have a total of 9,000 ultimate laws. What are you going to use to fight me? Don't tell me you also have 3,000 incarnations." The corner of Ryuko's mouth raised slightly. That arrogant attitude made the inner demons laugh. "What are you laughing at?" Ryuko raised his eyebrows. "Now I finally understand why you've been defeated repeatedly in the Sky Cloud realm. With your arrogant personality, it's already a miracle that you can live until now." The inner demon's face was full of ridicule. "With such a playboy mentality, you can fight me and that wolf cub? Isn't that just crushing? You're courting death." Ryuko's eyes turned cold. He could say anything, but what happened in the Sky Cloud realm couldn't be mentioned in front of him, because it would be exposing his scars. As his voice fell, the 3,000 incarnations were also full of murderous intent. 9,000 ultimate laws suddenly turned into a torrent, drowning the starry sky and crazily attacking the inner demons. "Do you need me?" Lu Jiajin, who was standing not far away, suddenly asked. The Divine King stood at the entrance of the Star River. When he heard this, he immediately looked at Lu Jiajin. From his tone, could this young man defeat the 3,000 incarnations? In today's world, it seemed that only Long Qin's domain of divinity could restrain the 3,000 incarnations. Where did this confidence come from? The inner demons glanced at Lu Jiajin, then glanced at the 3,000 incarnations behind Ryuko and laughed. "Won't you be using a sledgehammer to crack a nut? You just watch from the side." "Okay." Lu Jiajin nodded. Although his expression couldn't be seen due to the mask, his eyes remained calm. He didn't put Ryuko and Jishaoi in his eyes at all. In the blink of an eye, the 9,000 ultimate laws of nature were about to reach the inner demons. That terrifying aura was indeed a little frightening. But the red eyes of the inner demons were filled with mockery. Boom! All of a sudden, a monstrous baleful aura erupted. In an instant, the inner demons seemed to have transformed into a blood-clad demon king. Waves of blood surged around him, drowning the entire area. It was also within the waves of blood that several figures suddenly appeared. Every single one of these figures wore blood-red clothes and had blood-red hair. They were like peerless demon kings that had returned, and their murderous auras soared into the sky. The most important thing was, these blood-cloaked demon kings were exactly the same as the inner demons in terms of height and temperament. However, their faces were shrouded in a bloody mist, making it impossible for others to see their true appearances. 3,000 clones? The Divine King's eyes widened. If these weren't 3,000 incarnations, then what were they? This person actually had 3,000 incarnations as well? How was this possible? 3,000 incarnations was a secret technique of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan. Qin Feiyong was able to master 3,000 incarnations because of the princess of the Divine Kingdom. But this person, he was neither a relative nor a friend of the Purple Gold Divine Dragon Clan. How could he have the opportunity to obtain 3,000 incarnations? Why do you have 3,000 incarnations? Ryuko and Jishaoi's faces were also filled with disbelief. The inner demons raised the corners of his mouth and joked. "Do you think these are 3,000 incarnations? If these aren't 3,000 incarnations, then what are they? You actually stole the secret of our purple gold divine dragon clan. Ryuko roared. Ignorance is terrible. The inner demons shook his head. The waves of blood surged, covering the sky and the sun. There weren't 3,000 blood-clad demon kings standing in the waves of blood. There were only 1,000 of them. However, the aura emitted by these 1,000 blood-clad demon kings was enough to make the galaxy collapse crazily. Boom. The next moment, ultimate profound meanings appeared one after another, and the will of heaven roared out. Not only can these incarnations activate the ultimate profound meanings, but they also have the will of heaven like you. You still say that these aren't 3,000 incarnations? Ryuko roared. Haha, you're indeed an ignorant fool. The inner demon sneered. Those 1,000 blood-clad demon kings had only activated 2,000 ultimate profound meanings. But even so, with the support of the will of heaven, each of these 2,000 ultimate profound meanings could fight one against 6. Rumble. Accompanied by a loud explosion, Ryuko's 9,000 ultimate profound meanings were instantly annihilated in the galaxy. Puff. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Ryuko's eyes trembled. What was going on? A person who had nothing to do with the purple gold divine dragon clan actually had 3,000 incarnations? If Qin Feiyang and Qin Batian had 3,000 incarnations, this was understandable. After all, they were the descendants of the princess of the divine kingdom. But the person in front of them was clearly a human of the divine kingdom. How could the humans of the divine kingdom have obtained their secrets that were not to be passed on? 3,000 incarnations doesn't seem to be a big deal. The inner demons laughed. Bastard! Not only did he steal 3,000 incarnations of the purple gold divine dragon clan, but he also slandered them. Ryuko was burning with anger. Jishaoi, kill him with me. Okay. Jishaoi nodded. Swoosh. Behind him, 3,000 clones instantly appeared. The inner demons and Lu Jiajin were stunned. This person also had 3,000 incarnations. What was going on? Didn't the purple gold divine dragon race only have the Overlord, Heavenly Lord Ji, the Dragon Prince, and Boss Ji who had 3,000 incarnations? Boom. As the 3,000 incarnations were activated, the ultimate profound meaning of the law of death appeared. Jishaoi had only mastered this ultimate profound meaning. But even so, with 3,000 incarnations, he could still unleash terrifying combat power. Because 3,000 incarnations could increase his combat power by 3,000 times. Jishaoi had indeed profited from a disaster. Although he had lost his most powerful battle soul, the Eye of Destiny, the 3,000 incarnations gave him the ability to look down on all the elites of the Divine Kingdom. Boom. Ryuko activated his ultimate profound meaning again. 12,000 ultimate profundities of supreme laws, carrying with them the power to destroy the heavens and earth, charged toward the inner demon. You're still too naive. The inner demons shook his head. Boom. 1,000 blood-robed demon lords, 6 ultimate profound meanings, and the will of the heavenly way exploded. At this moment, Ryuko and Jishaoi couldn't help but feel desperate. Although the other party only had 1,000 incarnations, the 6 ultimate profound meanings and the will of the heavenly way pressed down on them like a mountain. Boom. There was no suspense. This was a situation that could destroy everything in its path. The 12,000 ultimate laws of Ryuko and Jishaoi shattered like rotten wood. The 3,000 incarnations were also collapsing. Why? Ryuko roared hysterically. He thought that by inheriting the 3,000 incarnations, he would be able to avenge the humiliation from 1,000 years ago. However, he didn't expect the other party to also have 3,000 incarnations. Not only did he fail to take revenge, but he was also severely humiliated again. You still think that these are 3,000 incarnations? No. Let me tell you now. This is the Demon King's real body. It's a supreme killing technique that I created myself. The inner demons looked at the two of them with disdain. What? Their eyes trembled. The Demon King's real body? A supreme killing technique that he created himself? How is this possible? The Divine King also had a look of disbelief. How powerful must he be to be able to create such a terrifying killing technique? 1,000 years ago, when we came to challenge you, I had already created the Demon King's real body. However, none of you so-called elites had the ability to make me activate the Demon King's real body. But this time, I have a whole new level of respect for you. At least, you can make me use this trump card. The inner demon snickered. Impossible. Don't lie to us. This is obviously 3,000 incarnations. Ji Shaoi shook his head. Sigh. It seems that if I don't let you see the true face of the Demon King's real body, you won't believe it. The inner demon shook his head and sighed. As soon as his voice faded, behind him, another 2,000 blood-robed demon kings appeared. In total, there were a total of 3,000. It was exactly the same as the number of 3,000 incarnations. Moreover, the bodies of these 3,000 blood-robed demon kings began to swell with the wind. In just an instant, they turned into giants that were tens of thousands of feet tall. There were even pairs of blood-red wings growing on their backs. There were a total of 9 pairs. 18 blood-red wings. Their faces were still shrouded in blood mist, and their true appearance could not be seen clearly. From afar, it was like an ancient demon god had descended into the world, exuding a terrifying aura. This is the true face of the Demon King's real body? The Divine King murmured. Sure enough, it was not 3,000 incarnations. It was hard to imagine how powerful this person was to be able to comprehend a terrifying killing technique similar to the 3,000 incarnations. It seemed that this was the reason why the Central Dynasty valued him, because the Demon King's real body was completely capable of competing with the 3,000 incarnations. As long as this person could be brought into the Central Dynasty, then the Central Dynasty would have the means to suppress the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. The Divine King looked at Lu Jiajin again. The inner demons had such terrifying strength. What about this person? Could it be that he also had the means of 3,000 incarnations and the Demon King's real body? The remaining 2 chapters will be released before 11 o'clock. Chapter 4171. Lu Jiajin noticed the Divine King's gaze, but he didn't show any arrogance or rudeness. He nodded and smiled at the Divine King. Looking at Lu Jiajin's eyes, the Divine King was slightly stunned. This pair of eyes were extremely clear, like a bright mirror. Moreover, they were extremely infectious. He could imagine that this was a young man with an extraordinary state of mind. Why wasn't such a person born in the God Clan? Whether it was these 2 young men in front of him, or Qin Feiyang and the others, any one of them could be born in the God Clan and become the pride of the God Clan. Unfortunately, this was all a fantasy. Looking at Ryuko and Ji Shaoi again, looking at the 3,000 Demon King real bodies behind the inner demons, they were extremely shocked. He could actually create a killing technique as powerful as the 3,000 Demon Kings? They originally thought that no matter how monstrous the other party was, he would at most be on the same level as them. Because in the Divine Kingdom, Ryuko was already a top genius. But they never expected that the other party was a person who could create such a killing technique. One had to know. Even the older generation of the Divine Kingdom, such as the monarch, couldn't create such a killing technique. Compared to this person, how could they be called geniuses? They weren't even idiots. Are you convinced? The inner demons laughed. The 2 looked at each other and couldn't help but lower their heads. They couldn't face him. Are you ashamed? Do you feel like clowns? The inner demons laughed. The 3,000 Demon King real bodies burst out with a terrifying aura. The ultimate meaning and the divine power of the will of heaven surged toward the 2. The 2 trembled and immediately knelt in the void. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with despair. Stop! The Divine King saw that the situation was not good and hurried forward to stand in front of the 2. Ryuko was the monarch's grandson. Ji Shaoi was also Ji Yunhai's grandson. He couldn't die in the God Clan's territory. You want to be a busybody? The inner demons looked at the Divine King with bloody eyes. Even the Divine King could not help but feel fear in the face of the power of the inner demons. Whether it's the God race, the human race, the Purple Gold Divine Dragon race, the beast race, or the sea race, they're all members of the divine kingdom. There's no need to harm each other. The divine king said solemnly, "But I am from the central dynasty." In the eyes of the central dynasty, the 5 major races are nothing but ants. The inner demons laughed sinisterly. Various ultimate intents were activated at once. A monstrous might swept through the galaxy. The divine king's expression suddenly changed. He hurriedly pulled Ryuko and the other 2 away. "You're courting death," the inner demon said coldly. The 3,000 demon emperors flapped their bloody wings and charged at the 3 cultivators like a group of deities. The wind howled, and waves of blood filled the sky. "It's just a spar. Why make such a big fuss?" At this moment, accompanied by a majestic voice, a middle-aged man stepped into the galaxy. His monstrous aura shook the starry sky. It was the king. The inner demons turned to look at the king and smirked. "You've come at the right time. I've long wanted to experience the king's elegance." As soon as he finished speaking, the 3,000 demon emperors turned in the air and charged at the king with various ultimate intents. "What a lawless king," the divine king murmured. They didn't even take the king seriously. "I'd also like to see what a prodigy from the central dynasty is capable of." The king took a step forward and activated his 3,000 clones. The ultimate intents of the 7 ultimate intents of the 7 ultimate intents erupted and charged at the 3,000 demon emperors. Boom! A series of loud blasts took place in the area. The terrifying shockwaves of the battle swept in all directions. In the end, the king overwhelmed the 3,000 demon emperors of the inner demons with his advantage in numbers. Because the king had mastered the ultimate intents of the 7 ultimate intents, the inner demons had only activated the ultimate intents of the 6 ultimate intents. This was the advantage in numbers. But the king was also quite surprised. The demon emperors could indeed compete with the 3,000 clones. It seemed that the central dynasty wanted to use this person's demon emperors to suppress the purple gold divine dragon clan. Haha, the king is indeed the king. He's far from being comparable to those trash. The inner demon's fighting spirit was also stimulated. He stepped out into the air, bringing with him a monstrous wave of blood as he engaged in an intense battle with the monarch. Rumble. Terrifying shockwaves enveloped the galaxy like raging waves. About a few hundred rounds passed. The inner demons was already dripping with blood, but at this moment, his eyes flashed with killing intent. The king immediately felt a sense of danger, and a sense of fear rose in his heart. "Stop!" But suddenly, a hoarse voice was heard. A white-haired old man descended on the galaxy. It was Yulao who led the team from the central dynasty. Looking at the inner demons who were boiling with fighting spirit, Yulao said helplessly, "Can't you stop? It's none of your business. If you talk nonsense again, I'll beat you up too, old man." The inner demons snorted, but they also stopped fighting. The 3,000 demon emperors also disappeared. The corner of Yulao's mouth twitched. He looked at the king and the divine king and smiled apologetically. "I'm sorry, this kid is like this. When he sees a strong person, he wants to learn from them." The two looked at each other and were speechless. Was this called learning from each other? It was clearly a merciless battle to the death. But because of Yulao's face, they couldn't say much. Yulao looked at the inner demons and said, "Apologize to the king and the divine king." "Apologize? With just them? Old man, you must have taken the wrong medicine. Do I look like someone who will apologize?" The inner demons sneered arrogantly, opened a space-time passage, and left without looking back. "Bastard, do you know what it means to respect the old and love the young?" Yulao was so angry that his beard blew and his eyes widened. He looked at Lu Jiajin and said, "Aren't you going to do something about it?" "Even you can't do anything about it. How can I?" Lu Jiajin smiled helplessly and looked at Yulao, the king, and the divine king. He cupped his hands and smiled. "I won't disturb you from catching up. Goodbye." After that, he turned around and stepped into the space-time passage, leaving with the inner demons. The corner of Yulao's mouth kept twitching. These two youngsters were indeed outstanding. However, Their personalities were too unruly and unruly. I'm really sorry. He looked at the divine king and smiled apologetically again. It's okay. It's normal for young people to be arrogant. Besides, they do have the right to be arrogant. The king waved his hand. The 3,000 clones also dissipated. Lord Ruler, you're right. The king is righteous. Elder Yu smiled faintly. I'm sorry. I still have a lot to learn in front of you. The king waved his hand. He knew a little about this old man. He was a figure of the same era as Boschji and the other old men. So, he was really a junior in front of this person. Don't be so humble. The position of the king is not something that ordinary people can take up. Yu Lao smiled hoarsely and asked, How is your father? Thank you for your concern. My father is very good. The king smiled. All right. When I have time, I'll go to the ancestral land of the purple gold divine dragons. It'll be a revisit. Yu Lao smiled. You're welcome at any time. The king smiled. Yu Lao smiled and looked at the king and the divine king. He said, Also, inform the supreme of the human race to go to the Dragon God Mountain in 3 days. I have something to discuss with him. Okay. The two nodded. After Yu Lao left, the king immediately looked at Ryuko and the divine king and said angrily, You're asking to be humiliated. Go back immediately and reflect on your mistakes. The two felt wronged. Who knew that this person had a trump card that was not inferior to the 3,000 clones? But in the face of the king's reproach, they did not dare to say anything. They lowered their heads and left. You can't blame them. Even if they didn't come today, those two would have killed their way to the purple gold divine dragon clan tomorrow. The divine king looked at the backs of Ryuko and the divine king and smiled at the king. I know. But I just feel like I'm disappointed, the king said angrily. I agree. The divine king smiled bitterly. If it was Qin Feiyong, how could he let those two be so arrogant? But then again, that blood-red-clothed youth is really something. If not for Yu Lao's appearance, I'm afraid that even I would have died in his hands. The king frowned. No way. The divine king was shocked. Before Yu Lao appeared, I felt a dangerous aura from him. That feeling was very real. So I guess that he's hiding some trump card, the king said in a deep voice. The divine king's pupils shrank. What kind of monster was this? The king took a deep breath and said, What do you think about going to Dragon God Mountain in 3 days? Do you even need to think about it? You just want to be a peacemaker and resolve the grudge between us and the Dragon God. The divine king pouted. These people from the Central Dynasty really like to meddle in other people's business. From this matter, it seems that the Oceanic race and the Beast race are really the ruler's trusted aides. If it were us 3 races, the Central Dynasty would definitely not be so proactive. The king snorted discontentedly. So, our decision back then was correct. This ruler is no longer worthy of our lives. The divine king's eyes flashed coldly. As the ruler of the divine kingdom, I don't want you to be fair, but you can't be too biased either. If you did that, where would the god race, the human race, and the purple gold divine dragon clan stand? Were they really treating the 3 major races as cannon fodder? Chapter 4172. Wait, should we talk to Qin Feiyong about this? Tell him to make some arrangements. The divine king transmitted his voice. What do you mean? The monarch looked at the divine king suspiciously. The divine king's eyes flashed with killing intent. If the Central Dynasty's prodigy dies in the hands of the dragon god, do you think Yu Lao will still help the dragon god? The monarch was shocked to hear this. He didn't expect the divine king to have such a crazy idea. But if that was the case, not only would the Central Dynasty not help the dragon god, but they would also attack the dragon god. In this way, they could use the Central Dynasty to get rid of the dragon god. You don't say. The more I think about it, the more I think it's feasible. The divine king said, Okay, I'll go talk to Qin Feiyong. The monarch nodded. Be careful. Now that the Central Dynasty is here, there's no need for any accidents. The divine king reminded him. I know. The monarch smiled. If he couldn't handle this well, wouldn't he have been a monarch for so many years in vain? In the village, Qin Feiyong and the other two were in seclusion in the back mountain tea garden. Master Jijio didn't dare to leave the tea garden. He was on tenterhooks every day, afraid that he would lose a few tea trees if he wasn't careful. Whoosh! The monarch arrived at the tea garden and looked at Master Jijio, who was sitting alone at the tea table with an irritated expression. Master Jijio, you seem to be in a good mood. How can you tell that I'm in a good mood? Master Jijio raised an eyebrow. Huh, the monarch couldn't help but laugh. Master Jijio stared at him and frowned. You came here for something? Yes. I want to discuss something with Qin Feiyong. The monarch nodded. Master Jijio rolled his eyes and asked with a smile, Little Wong, how does Master Jijio usually treat you? This. The monarch looked at Master Jijio warily. Answer me. Master Jijio glared at him. That goes without saying. He's definitely very good to me. If it weren't for your careful guidance, I wouldn't have my current achievements and status. The monarch quickly put on a flattering smile. Not bad, not bad. Do you still remember how well I treated you? Master Jijio nodded with a smile. Just say what you want to say. Don't beat around the bush. The king smiled bitterly. Such a courteous attitude really made him uncomfortable. All right, then this old man will say it directly. Do me a favor and get Qin Feiyong and Long Chen out of here. Jiju said. Ugh. The monarch was startled and asked suspiciously, Did they do something wrong? No. Jiju shook his head. Then how dare you let them go? The monarch was puzzled. Aren't you asking the obvious? With them here, can this old man still enjoy life in peace? This old man heard from Dong Xingyang that Long Chen is also a person who loves tea as much as his life. Qin Feiyong alone is already a headache for this old man. With Long Chen here, can this old man still feel at ease? Master Jijio rubbed his forehead. In the past 2 days, he had thought of many ways, but Qin Feiyong and Long Chen refused to leave. They wanted to stay here, so he asked the monarch for help. Looking at Master Jijio's irritated look, the monarch's face flushed red. Still laughing? Master Jijio glared at him fiercely. No. I just feel that it's just a little tea tree. Just be generous and give them some. When the time comes, you don't need to say anything. They will leave by themselves. The monarch laughed. In your dreams. Master Jijio snorted and glared at the monarch. I think you are also an unreliable person. Forget it. This old man will think of a way myself. The monarch smiled helplessly, turned his head to look at the wooden building, and shouted, Qin Feiyong, come out. I have something to discuss with you. After a while, Qin Feiyong and the other two walked out of the wooden building. They were in good spirits. That was especially true of Qin Feiyong and Long Chen. To them, this place was like heaven. Master Jijio, Your Majesty. Qin Feiyong waved to the two from afar and greeted them. Annoying. Master Jijio turned his head and looked away. Qin Feiyong, Long Chen, and Dong Zhengyang looked at each other and walked over with a smile. Good tea. Looking at the teapot on the tea table, Qin Feiyong's eyes lit up. He poured a cup of tea without hesitation and tasted it comfortably. Boy, do you still know how to be polite? Master Jijio frowned. Did he ask for his permission? Great-grandfather, we are family. Why are you being so polite? Qin Feiyong smiled and acted like a dead pig that was not afraid of boiling water, which made Master Jijio quite depressed. It was better to be polite. It was actually good to be an outsider. Long Chen poured a cup of tea for himself and drank it with a face full of enjoyment. Then he looked at the monarch and asked, Your Majesty, what can I do for you? First of all, there is a news that I think it is necessary to tell you. It is about the two mysterious young men. The monarch's face immediately became serious. Mysterious young men? Dong Xingyang was stunned and asked, Are they the two masked geniuses from the Central Dynasty? Yes. The monarch nodded. Qin Feiyong and the other two looked at each other. Why were the top 10 geniuses from the Central Dynasty talking about the inner demons and Lu Jiajin? These two are not simple, especially that young man in red. Yesterday, he went to Mount Supreme and severely injured the human race's geniuses. Then, they came to the Island of Gods and crushed the God race's geniuses. They even fought with Jishaoi and Ryuko. The monarch said, "What? Fought with Ryuko and Jishaoi?" Qin Feiyang and the other two frowned. They naturally knew about Ryuko and Jishaoi's situation. Chapter 4173. It's indeed troublesome. Besides, if we really succeed, the dragon god will become very valuable to us. It's a bit of a waste to sacrifice him like this. Long Chun thought to himself as he drank his tea. That's right. Instead of letting him be sacrificed, it's better to use him for us. With his strength and the entire beast race, we will definitely be able to destroy the central dynasty. Qin Feiyang nodded. That makes sense. The central dynasty must be destroyed before the ruler of the divine kingdom returns. Otherwise, they will definitely become our hindrance in the future. Long Chun smiled slightly. The two of them had a tacit understanding and basically thought of the same thing. However, the monarch and Master Jijio were confused. What the hell was he talking about? They didn't understand at all. Dong Zhengyang thought for a while and couldn't help but smile, but he didn't interrupt and just drank his tea. It wasn't that the monarch and Master Jijio weren't as smart as Dong Zhengyang. The monarch and Master Jijio couldn't figure it out because they didn't know Qin Feiyang as well as Dong Zhengyang. Hey, can you two stop talking in riddles? Master Jijio couldn't stand it anymore and said with a dark face. Qin Feiyang and Master Jijio were stunned. They looked up at the confused monarch and the angry Master Jijio and couldn't help but smile at each other. What are you laughing at? Master Jijio glared at them. Okay. Qin Feiyang quickly waved his hand and said with a smile, "Great-grandfather, we're actually talking about Neptune's origin energy." Origin energy? The monarch and Master Jiju looked at each other and immediately became interested. The reason why Neptune and the dragon god were feared by everyone was because of the origin energy in their hands. If they could destroy these two origin energies, even the purple gold divine dragon race alone would be enough to overturn the sea race and the beast race, let alone the three races. Didn't we kidnap millions of members of the oceanic tribe some time ago? The various sea gods and 2/3 of the core members of the sea gods island? Qin Feiyang smiled. Yes. Jiju nodded. Qin Feiyang said, "My goal is to use these sea tribe members to exchange for the source energy in Neptune's hands." So that's what happened. The monarch nodded. Suddenly, he frowned and asked, "You didn't kill those sea tribe members?" "Not a single one. But now that they're alive, it's more painful than death." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Are you torturing them? Is that necessary?" "Childish." Master Jijio said in disdain. "You're wrong. We didn't torture them at all." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. "If you didn't torture them, then why are they suffering more pain than death?" This made Jiju a little confused. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other and smiled. Then, they looked at Jiju and said, "Anyway, they want to die now. As for the reason, let's keep them in suspense." Jiju immediately rolled his eyes. Qin Feiyang smiled and continued, "If we can really get the source energy in Neptune's hands, then why should we be afraid of a mere dragon god?" "That's true. The dragon god's greatest reliance is the power of origin," said Yi Fuyan. The monarch nodded. "So, as long as Neptune's source energy falls into our hands, then we can defeat the dragon god and control him. In this way, not to mention killing the central dynasty's prodigies in front of Yu Lao, even if we ask him to attack Yu Lao, he won't frown. But, then again, if the dragon god is really controlled by us, then with his strength, he can become our right-hand man. Why should we send him to his death?" Qin Feiyang smiled. The monarch and Jiju looked at each other. Now that he thought about it, it did make some sense. If they could really control the dragon god, then the dragon god would become one of them. If they still sent him to his death, wouldn't it be a waste of a talent? After pondering for a while, the monarch looked at Qin Feiyang and Jiju and frowned. "Listening to what you said, there's no need for us to scheme against the dragon god now? Of course not. No one knows the future situation. But now, what we need to do is to find a way to get the source energy in Neptune's hands. In short, Whether it's to control the dragon god for our use, or to set up a trap to kill the dragon god, the first prerequisite is to get this source energy. Otherwise, we can't do anything. Long Chen explained. The source energy. The monarch pondered for a while, looked up at the two, and smiled. We can't help with this matter. You have to plan it yourselves. Qin Feiyang looked at the smile on the monarch's face and said helplessly, Are you planning to be a hands-off boss? What are you talking about? Do you think I want to be a hands-off boss? Do you think I don't want to contribute? But there's no other way. The situation forces us. The monarch looked at Qin Feiyang angrily, but the smile on his face was undisguised. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked at each other and couldn't help but despise him. If he didn't want to, then he didn't want to. Why did he have to find a lot of excuses? Sigh. Is it really good to be so hypocritical? Ahem. Jizhou coughed dryly, looked at Qin Feiyang and Long Chun and said, Since you have something important to do, then hurry up and do it. Don't waste time here. Do we have something important to do? Qin Feiyang looked at Long Chun and asked. No. Long Chun shook his head. No? No. Didn't you say it yourself just now? You want to go to Neptune and ask for the source energy? Jizhou frowned. That's what you're talking about. Qin Feiyang smiled and shook his head. There's no hurry. We'll deal with it slowly after we come out of seclusion. Don't. We have to strike while the iron is hot. Chapter 4174. Are you satisfied now? You can get lost now. Jijia's face was dark, and he was in a bad mood. This? Qin Feiyang stammered. But before he could finish, Master Jizhou pointed at the foot of the mountain and roared, Disappear immediately, immediately. Okay. We'll visit you again when we're free. Qin Feiyang quickly nodded and dragged Long Chun away. Visit me again? The corner of Jijia's mouth twitched. He'd better not come again. Otherwise, this tea garden would be destroyed sooner or later. He took away 60 of his tea trees in 2 visits. It was simply asking for his life. Take it easy, Jiu. If you don't get rid of the old, the new won't come. Dong Zhengyang comforted him. Then go and find some new tea trees for me. Jizhou glared at him fiercely. It was easy for him to say that. It's really not your tea trees. Don't you feel bad? Dong Zhengyang smiled embarrassedly. Which tea lover didn't treat the divine tea tree as a treasure? Where could he find it? But then again, Jizhou lowered his head and pondered for a while. He frowned and said, Why is Qin Feiyang so good to Long Chun? For Long Chin's sake, you shamelessly came to pester me? Is their relationship even better than his relationship with the madman? That's not it. Qin Feiyang's relationship with the madman and the white-eyed wolf is the best because they have gone through life and death together. As for Long Chun, Dong Zhengyang was silent for a moment and sighed. Actually, the relationship between Long Chun and them wasn't good in the past. What do you mean? Jizhou was suspicious. Long Chun is a member of the dragons of the ancient world. Once, the dragons of the ancient world, Long Chen's mother, had always wanted to snatch Qin Feiyang and Qin Beishan's purple gold dragon blood. It was also because of this that the two sides began to fight to the death. In the end, the dragons were exterminated by Qin Feiyang and the lunatic, leaving only Long Zun and Long Chun. Dong Zhengyang sighed. Extermination? Jijia's face was full of shock as he asked, Why are they still so friendly when they have the enmity of exterminating their clan? Although Long Zun's personality is not good, Long Chen's personality is very good. He's an open and above-board person. When they fought in the ancient world, Qin Feiyang and the mad scientist admired Long Chen very much. Afterwards, they entered the sky cloud realm one after another. In the beginning, the conflict also became more and more intense. Long Chen's father is an almighty. He ordered the dragons of the sky cloud realm to attack Qin Feiyang. He also ordered 2 sovereign divine weapons to assassinate Qin Feiyang repeatedly. You should be able to imagine how dangerous it is for a person who hasn't stepped into the sovereign realm to face the assassination of 2 sovereign divine weapons at any time. However, Qin Feiyang relied on his companions and the support of countless creatures in the Black Tortoise realm to survive the calamities and become the #1 person in the Sky Cloud realm. Dong Zhengyang smiled. Then it's really not easy for him. Jijio shook his head. It was not difficult to imagine how desperate it was for a person who didn't even have the cultivation of a sovereign realm to face 2 sovereign divine weapons. Later, Long Chen's father didn't interfere anymore. Because of this, Qin Feiyong was able to get some time to breathe. But during this period, Long Chun didn't make a move. Even when he was being chased by the Feng people, Long Chun even saved him, because in Long Chen's eyes, the root cause of the destruction of the dragons in the ancient realm wasn't Qin Feiyong, but his mother. Because his mother, Long Zun, was very unfriendly to the creatures in the ancient realm. There was also Qin Batian. He was the first person to fight against the dragons. And in the ancient realm, he even established the Dragon Slayer Palace in order to destroy the dragons and return peace to the ancient realm. Therefore, Long Chen's hatred for Qin Feiyong wasn't that strong. However, they really reconciled with each other thanks to the Divine Kingdom. Dong Zhengyang smiled. Thanks to us? Jijio was stunned. Yes. The invasion of the Divine Kingdom made them temporarily put aside their grudges, because at that time, only they could contend with the people of the Divine Kingdom in the Sky Cloud realm. Dong Zhengyang smiled. So that's how it is. Jiju nodded and said with a smile, this means that they are very responsible people. That's true. Whether it's Qin Feiyong or Long Chun, they both have benevolent hearts. At the beginning, joining forces to fight against the geniuses of the Divine Kingdom was just the beginning. The people who really made them put aside their grudges were actually the monarch, the Divine King, and the sovereign of the human race, Lord Ji. Dong Zhengyang said with a smile. What do you mean? Jiju was curious. At that time, Qin Feiyong comprehended the ultimate meaning of the law of life and death, so he had to face the terrifying heavenly tribulation. At the same time, the monarch and the others came in person, which undoubtedly made things worse. Long Chen knew that if Qin Feiyong really died in the hands of the monarch and the others, the Sky Cloud realm would definitely fall. So, not only did he sacrifice himself to protect Qin Feiyong, but he also let his sister, Long Qin, join the battle. The battle with the monarch and the others was quite tragic. But because of this, they really put aside their grudges and became close friends who would go through life and death together. Dong Zhengyang smiled slightly. So, they have to thank the monarch and the others? Jijio was stunned, more or less. As for Qin Feiyong coming here shamelessly to help Long Chen ask for the tea tree, that's because Long Chen helped him a lot, Dong Zhengyang said with a smile. What help? Jiju was surprised. For Qin Feiyong to put down his face like this, it was definitely not a small matter. This, if they don't say, this junior can't reveal it. Dong Zhengyang smiled embarrassedly. Do you believe that I won't teach you a lesson? Jiju's face darkened. Even if you teach me a lesson, I can't say anything. Because this matter is too important. It can be said that it concerns the fate of all the companions around us. And, if Long Chen's ability is known by the Sea Clan, the Beast Clan, and the Central Dynasty, then these 3 forces will definitely hunt Long Chen down at all costs. Now, everyone hasn't completely grown up yet, so we can't afford such a risk. Dong Zhengyang said. Jijia's heart trembled. What kind of ability could have such a great influence? You can say that. Whether we can fight the Sea Clan, the Beast Clan, and the Central Dynasty depends on Long Chun, Dong Zhengyang said with a smile. Jijio took a breath, and the curiosity in his heart grew stronger. Suddenly, he was stunned and asked suspiciously, You just said that Long Chen's father is a mighty figure? Yes. Dong Zhengyang nodded. What kind of existence? Jiju was a little incredulous. Dong Zhengyang's strength was not bad, and he had the eye of destiny. How powerful must he be to become a mighty figure in his eyes? This, Dong Zhengyang smiled and said, It's not convenient to say. You. Jijio was extremely angry. It was not convenient to say anything. Was it that exaggerated? It's really inconvenient. Anyway, if we anger this mighty figure, none of us will have a good ending. including Qin Feiyang now. This was not Dong Zhengyang's alarmist words. Although Qin Feiyang's current strength was very strong, he might not be able to fight against Ice Dragon. No way. Jijia's scalp tingled when he heard this. In terms of personal strength, Qin Feiyang was now above this group of old antiques, but he couldn't beat Long Chen's father? What kind of existence was this? So, I want to say that you didn't lose out by giving Long Chen these 20 tea trees today. Because in the future, you might have unexpected gains in exchange. Dong Zhengyang smiled slightly. All right, I originally thought that I was knowledgeable, but after hearing what you said today, I feel like a frog at the bottom of a well. Jijio smiled bitterly. You don't have to be like this. In terms of knowledge, juniors like us can't compare to you. Dong Zhengyang smiled and comforted him. At the same time, in the sky above a mountain, Qin Feiyang and Long Chen ran out of the space-time passage with smiles on their faces. How was it? Are you satisfied now? Qin Feiyang turned to look at Long Chen and smiled. It's okay. Long Chen nodded. This is called okay? Do you know that for you? I don't even care about my face? Qin Feiyang said angrily. Haha. Long Chen laughed heartily and patted Qin Feiyang's shoulder, saying, Okay, I thank you. That's more like it. Qin Feiyang smiled with satisfaction, pondered for a moment, and said, Then hurry up and go into seclusion. To be honest, without the help of you and senior brother, I'm still under a lot of pressure. Then are you going to negotiate with Neptune directly now? Long Chen frowned. Qin Feiyang thought for a moment and said with a smile, I've already mastered 2 wills of the heavenly Tao, so I'm not in a hurry to comprehend other laws. I'll go and meet Neptune alone first. Then be careful. If you really can't, just wait for us to come out. At that time, with the help of the demon ancestor and Mu Tianyang, it will be easier to deal with Neptune and the others. Long Chen smiled faintly, and Qin Feiyang nodded. To be honest, he was really looking forward to the demon ancestor and the others coming out of seclusion, because whether it was the demon ancestor or Mu Tianyang, they all had extremely terrifying methods and brains. When they all came out of seclusion and joined hands, there was probably nothing they couldn't do. All right, send me to the Black Tortoise realm. I still have to deal with those tea trees first. Long Chen said with a smile. Qin Feiyang pursed his lips and was about to send Long Chen to the Black Tortoise realm when he suddenly thought of something and frowned. Say, the inner demons and big cousin, running to challenge the people of the 3 great races, do they have anything to do with us? Then how would I know? Long Chen smiled helplessly. It wasn't like he was a roundworm in the stomach of the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. Besides, he didn't understand the inner demons and Lu Jiajin at all. He hadn't even seen them with his own eyes. Because when the inner demons and Lu Jiajin disappeared, Qin Feiyang and the others had yet to enter the ancient realm. I personally think so. This time, the inner demons and big cousin went to the 3 great races. It should be because of us. Because the grudge between us and the 3 great races is no longer a secret. The inner demons and big cousin can casually ask around. So they went to the 3 great races to kill them. And among the 3 great races, the biggest threat is undoubtedly the Purple Gold Divine Dragon clan. So when they fought with Ryuko and Jishaoi, they wanted to kill them. Qin Feiyang analyzed. Chapter 4175. Maybe. Long Chen nodded. As close relatives, knowing that Qin Feiyang was bullied by the 3 major races, it was not impossible that the inner demons and Lu Jiajin would help to vent their anger. This is what I am worried about. Now the inner demons and big cousin still don't know that we have formed an alliance with the 3 major races. What if they find a chance to kill the 3 major races again? Because Qin Feiyang knew the inner demons' character too well. They had always done whatever they wanted. Don't worry about this. They are now members of the Divine Kingdom. Even if they want to kill the 3 major races, the Central Dynasty will not allow it. Otherwise, when the inner demons were on the island of the gods and prepared to kill the monarch, Yu Lao would not have stopped them. Long Chen comforted him. That makes sense. Qin Feiyang nodded. After pondering for a while, he said, But for the sake of safety, we should still find a chance to meet them and tell them about our alliance with the three major races, lest they hurt our own people. Don't. Long Chun hurriedly stopped him. What do you mean? Qin Feiyong looked at him suspiciously. When we were in the restaurant, they did not even respond to our voice transmission. This means that they might be worried about something. So I suggest that we should not take the initiative to look for them. We should wait for them to come to us. Long Chun said. What exactly are they worried about? Qin Feiyong could not help but frown. Maybe their current situation is not as good as what we see. Long Chun whispered, You mean that someone is watching them? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Who knows? But for people like them with unknown origins and terrifying strength, if I were the Central Dynasty's people, I would also be worried. Long Chun shook his head. Qin Feiyong touched his chin thoughtfully. Suddenly, he smiled and said, No matter how suspicious the people of the Central Dynasty are, they won't suspect that Inner Demon and Big Cousin are acquainted with us. How so? Long Chun asked with a smile. Because they appeared in the Divine Kingdom 1,000 years ago. At that time, the Divine Kingdom hadn't invaded the Sky Cloud realm yet. Therefore, the people of the Central Dynasty naturally believed that the Inner Demons and Big Cousin were from the Divine Kingdom. Qin Feiyong smiled. That's right. As long as their identities are handled properly, they will never be exposed. As for the ability to conceal their identities, I believe they still have it. Without this ability, the Inner Demons and Lu Jiajin would have been exposed long ago in the Divine Kingdom. But to be honest, I'm really itching for a fight with the Inner Demons. Let's see if he's stronger, or if I'm stronger. Qin Feiyong laughed. You are the same person. Is it necessary? Long Chun was speechless. Wrong. After he passed the tribulation, he became an independent consciousness. So I am me, and he is him. Qin Feiyong shook his head. Whatever. Long Chun shrugged. He then looked at the horizon, a trace of sadness in his eyes. What's wrong? Qin Feiyong looked at him suspiciously. The appearance of the Inner Demons reminded me of him. Long Chun sighed. Him? Qin Feiyong was stunned. Which him? Suddenly, he showed a look of realization. This him was actually another Long Chun. The former Long Chun was the same as Qin Feiyong. However, Long Chun was not the Inner Demons, but the Divine Soul. Back then, Long Chun had two Divine Souls. One was the Ice Dragon Soul, and the other was the Sky Dragon Soul. The Sky Dragon Soul had a gentle personality and was open-minded. The Ice Dragon Soul was similar to the Inner Demons. It was cruel and unscrupulous. These two souls each had their own independent consciousness. But later, the battle between the dragons and the dragon-slaying palace broke out. Long Chun fought with Qin Feiyong and Lunatic. At that time, it was not a match for Qin Feiyong and Lunatic. The Ice Dragon Soul gave up on itself and merged with the Sky Dragon Soul. So, the two Divine Souls merged into one, which was the current Long Chun. After the fusion, the Ice Dragon Soul completely disappeared. It was because of this that Long Chun could understand Qin Feiyong's sadness when he learned about the death of the Inner Demons. Because the way he got along with the Ice Dragon Soul was the same as Qin Feiyong and the Inner Demons. They were as close as brothers. But now, Qin Feiyong's Inner Demons appeared and became the pride of the Central Dynasty. Everyone was watching, but his Ice Dragon Soul had disappeared forever. Some things could be forgotten, but some people, some things, had been imprinted in the depths of the soul and could never be forgotten. Qin Feiyong was silent for a long time, then sighed. I'm very sorry about this matter. However, although you have lost the Ice Dragon Soul, you still have us. We are all your brothers. Long Chun looked at Qin Feiyong, shook his head and smiled. I didn't expect you to be such a mushy person. Aren't I comforting you? Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes. Thank you. Long Chun smiled, collected his thoughts and said, Go to your thing. Okay. Qin Feiyong nodded. With a wave of his hand, Long Chun disappeared without a trace. Sigh. How good would it be if the incident in the ancient realm didn't happen? Qin Feiyong looked at the sky alone for a long time. In the end, all the helplessness and regret in his heart turned into a sigh. Sea Clan. I say, you too, what's going on? As soon as you arrived at the 4 great continents, you ran to the 3 major races to mess around? In a hall, Yu Lao stared at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin below, Neptune accompanied by the side. However, the inner demons half reclined on the chair, crossing his legs, holding a wine jar in his hand, exuding an intoxicating fragrance. He didn't listen to Yu Lao's lecture at all. As for Lu Jiajin, he also crossed his arms, leaned against the chair, and closed his eyes to rest. I'm talking to you? Yu Lao slapped the armrest of the chair and said angrily, I'm listening. If you want to scold, then hurry up. The inner demons waved impatiently. Yu Lao's face was full of anger. Neptune looked at the side with fear and trepidation. These 2 young people were really arrogant. They didn't take Yu Lao seriously at all. Swish. At this time, Lu Jiajin opened his eyes and 2 rays of light burst out. Although they couldn't see his expression, at this moment, whether it was Neptune or Yu Lao, they could feel a dangerous aura. His eyes were like 2 sharp swords, containing an amazing sharpness. Hey, someone is starting to get irritated. Old man, are you sure you want to continue? The inner demons looked at Yu Lao playfully. Yu Lao clenched his hands and stared at the inner demons and Lu Jiajin. There was a trace of gloominess in his eyes, and even an invisible pressure. However, whether it was Lu Jiajin or the inner demons, they didn't seem to feel it. Lu Jiajin's eyes didn't evade. The atmosphere in the hall gradually became serious. Neptune's forehead couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. This atmosphere was simply suffocating. Don't take yourself too seriously. After a long time, Lu Jiajin opened his mouth and said lightly. Then he turned and walked out of the hall without looking back. Did you hear that? Don't take yourself too seriously. The inner demons got up and smiled at Yu Lao. They also took the wine jar and walked away arrogantly. After the 2 left, the atmosphere in the hall eased. Neptune couldn't help but wipe his cold sweat. Yu Lao's face was gloomy. He suddenly slapped the armrest and roared in exasperation. Bastard! You have no respect for your elders. Neptune was shocked. He glanced at Yu Lao. It was the first time he saw someone who dared to be so arrogant in front of this old man. And it was 2 juniors. A moment later, Yu Lao took a deep breath and looked at Neptune. Sorry for making a fool of myself. No. Neptune hurriedly waved his hands. I really don't know whether it was right or wrong to bring them out. Yu Lao shook his head and sighed. Neptune pondered for a while and said, their strength is stronger than other geniuses. I'm afraid we really need them to deal with Qin Feiyang. But their personalities, don't mention their personalities. I get angry at the mention of it. Yu Lao snorted coldly. There's nothing we can do about it. Who asked them to be so monstrous? They have the right to be arrogant. You're a person of virtue and prestige. Be more open-minded and don't bicker with 2 juniors. Neptune comforted. If I really wanted to bicker with them, I'm afraid I would have died of anger. Yu Lao sighed helplessly. After sorting out his emotions, he asked, Qin Feiyang hasn't responded to you yet? No. Neptune shook his head, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Just a few youngsters, and they've actually stirred up chaos in the 4 continents of the Divine Kingdom. These young people nowadays are really terrifying. Elder Yu had a bitter smile on his face. Why are you still praising them? Neptune frowned. I should praise them when I deserve it. After all, they're really capable. However, they should be killed, and they should be killed. A glint of killing intent flashed in Yu Lao's eyes. Lord Neptune, at this time, accompanied by a hurried shout, a middle-aged man with golden wings on his back hurriedly ran into the hall. Our esteemed guest is here, yet you are so flustered. Where are your manners? Neptune shouted with dissatisfaction. The middle-aged man's expression changed. He quickly looked at Yu Lao and bowed. Please forgive me, Yu Lao. It's okay. Yu Lao waved his hand. Neptune asked, What's the matter? A clansman sent a message to report that Qin Feiyang has responded to your invitation. The middle-aged man said. Neptune and Yu Lao looked at each other. Their eyes flashed, and they asked the middle-aged man, What did he say? He agreed to meet you. But the meeting place is not on the Sea Lion Island, but at the Black Water Lake in the South Continent, the middle-aged man said. Black Water Lake? Yu Lao was stunned. The Black Water Lake is a dead lake. It's quite dangerous for ordinary people, because the mountains around the Black Water Lake are full of powerful, fierce beasts. It's quite famous in the South Continent. The middle-aged man explained. He didn't come to the Sea God Island. It seems that he's a very vigilant person. Yu Lao whispered, That's for sure. Otherwise, how could he be so arrogant until now? Neptune snorted and looked at the middle-aged man. Did he say anything else?
Yes.
You're the only one allowed to go. If he finds out that there's a second person present, he'll kill 1,000,000 of our clansmen first, the middle-aged man said. Bastard! I'd like to see if he has the guts to kill the clansmen of the Sea Clan. The Sea King flew into a rage. This threat was not hidden at all. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.